Hello, good evening and welcome race clubbers to a very special one-off race which is a completely new format for Race Club. We have got for you a 2.5 hour multi-class race from the fantastic Monza where we will be racing out of the dark into the light, which again is the first for us because normally we go into the dark. And for this special event, I've got a really fabulous announcement. I have a co-commentator with me who is a real life racer. I have got Dan with me. Are you there, Dan?
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Oh, looking forward to the race. Yeah, quite excited really. 2.5 hours. Be interested to see how the GT4s cope with the track against the GT3 cars. So yeah, all looking forward to it.
And the interesting thing we've got the fast guys in those GT4 cars, but looking at the order at the moment, all the GT3s have out-qualified the GT4s, but there is only between the back of the GT3s and the start of the GT4s just 4 seconds.
Yeah, no, very interesting indeed.
And we've got the Brownster there, who is, we know, an extremely fast guy, and we've got him on screen at the moment. He had a absolutely outstanding race at Spa in last season at Race Club, where he qualified on pole by about a second, couldn't join the race, so had to start from the pit lane, and got knocked off in the first lap, pitted, and by the time everybody else had pitted, he'd come out in the lead. So he was in a class of his own. So if anyone can drag those GT4s into the GT3s, I would be putting my money on the Brownster.
Yeah, indeed. It's thoroughly annoying when he just turns up and absolutely rinses the pack, isn't it?
It is. It's one of those you just want to do something to nobble his car, don't you? And just think, just especially when you've been droning around getting the lap time down, and then he sort of just turns up and smashes it, and you think, oh, why do I bother?
I will say he's like that in real life as well, so it's not just online. But,
oh, how annoying is that? You just hope guys like that are actually really one-trick ponies, not multi-trick ponies. But at the moment, he is parking it in the gravel, so I don't know if that gives you a bit of light relief.
Maybe he's listening to the stream.
And interestingly, he's actually just been pipped as the lead of the GT4s by Chicken Paxo. He was in a rarely seen car for me, the KTM.
Yeah, interesting car choice actually. Much more like the GT3 cars, I think. Whereas a lot of people have gone for the front-engine rear-wheel drive. He's gone for the KTM. So interesting choice. So we'll see how it goes.
Is that effectively a crossbow with a roof?
I believe it is, yeah.
Because it's sort of what it looks like. It's interesting. He's got a checkered paint job on that one of Chicken Paxo, and it makes it look one of those sort of camouflage paint jobs that the manufacturers use when they're trying to hide the shape of a new car.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. KTM have given it to Ben just so that he can test it out at Monza for them.
I just realised what it actually looks like. Is that, you know, those black and yellow curbs, the sleeping policeman on the apexes. It's actually the same as that.
Maybe he's done that on purpose so the GT3 cars don't run over him. Sorry.
Well, I'm just popping up looking at the guy. Oh, well, actually, most of the guys are in the pit. So I was just looking at the front end of the GT3 pack because they're all now winding their way back to the pits as qualifying time has run out. And Dazza, who was a driver we were chatting about, is you didn't know him that well because he was new to the Race Club series, and he was a strong midfielder in a few rounds of season 6 that's just completed, and up until just shortly he was 1.5 seconds ahead of everyone else. So he is definitely going to be the hare in this race, I think, for the GT3 cars at the front. So whether these GT4s can get in amongst them, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, indeed. Only half a second away is George, though, in the number 21. So I think the Lambo is clearly the best choice today. I wonder whether they're sharing setup tips. What do we think? Do they go in as a team?
There's quite a lot of them that do that and dropping down onto the GT4s. I know Basics is renowned for his ability to set up a car, so I'd imagine, and he's a good friend of Jack, who's Banff in 13th, so I would imagine they're sharing similar setups. But interestingly tonight, at least in qualifying times, Basics and Banff, they're a little way off the pace there, aren't they? They're a sort of good sort of second and a half adrift.
Yeah, indeed. It's still quite close within the GT4 class, though. I mean, if you think there's a second and a half off between the two.
Probably just under a 2-minute lap.
Yeah, which is reasonably good, I would have thought.
Yeah, if I got that close, I'd be happy.
Yeah, indeed, me too. I always struggled with these.
Well, and the interesting one that I noticed, I would say just a little bit off the pace possibly from where I would have expected him, is Chris V Dub, because he was about sort of 3 seconds behind Randy Flanchpants, and he's normally in sort of that kind of area. So, because he's the guy with the hand controller, so maybe it's not quite working for him tonight.
No, possibly not. He's driving the McLaren 720S, so quite a difficult car to set up. Maybe he's just not gone for a low drag setup.
Which is interesting. I know one driver that did do that. I think it was Spa, was Chicken Paxo, who just more or less ripped the wings off and was overtaking everybody going up the straight, and then just held his elbows out round all the twisty bits.
It's a good plan, actually. It's not a bad idea, considering the first half of the circuit is one long straight. It'd be interesting to see how we got up Eau Rouge like that, though. And
30 seconds.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he sort of seemed. I think he was, how should we say, playing his jokers of track limits on that left curb of Radion on the way out.
20 seconds.
Which is, and was it? I can't remember. One of the drivers there did get caught out and ended up going for a drive-through just close to the end. I think it might have been. It was either Basics or Chicken. I think it was Basics actually. He'd gone across the curb once too often and once too quickly. He didn't lose enough speed.
Yeah, definitely not the track you want to do that on, though, is it? With the very long pit entry and exit.
Well, unlike Formula One, I'm already being corrected by the drivers, because apparently and you were quite right to pick up on, if you didn't have any wing, how did he get through Eau Rouge? Well, you were quite right, because it was actually Paul Ricard where that slipstreaming event happened. So just proves my memory isn't as good as it used to be. So, well, the other thing that's going to be interesting here is, and you might have the knowledge on this that I haven't got, is we've got a 2.5 hour race. Now, generally the rule of thumb with the GT3s is that they can do an hour on the fuel and tyres, maybe a little bit more, maybe even a bit more if you turn the power down. First question, can anybody do this on a one stop, and if they can, is it worth it?
I would say this is probably going to be a two-stop for the GT3 cars, and I would have said tyres probably would have been the worst culprit instead of fuel. As well, you've got to think that they're going from the night time, which is typically colder, so you want to run higher pressures during the day. That's going to get hotter. It'll be interesting. I'll be curious to see who attempts a one stop. I have a feeling it'll be two, at least.
And on the GT4s, I'm not sure of their tank capacity compared to the GT3. So, are they going to be two or maybe even three stopping?
Very interesting. Not driven a lot of the GT4 cars on this game, so it's kind of up in the air at the moment. It'll be interesting if we can hear from one of the drivers how they've been doing in testing and seeing whether they've done any long-range testing, because that's what I would have done. Full tank of fuel, bang in a few laps, see how long that fuel is actually going to last you.
Well, I'm glad you brought that subject up, because unfortunately, due to despite my best efforts, we haven't got any drivers on the chat tonight, because they're in various group chats, and I don't know if it's a signed thing that comes later, but I know Basics and Banff are in the same chat, so whether they're going to up to a bit of slipstreaming skullduggery as a team, I don't know, but unfortunately, we won't have anybody to chat to at the moment. Hopefully that might change as the evening goes on. We'll have to see how it works out.
Fingers crossed. If not, we'll see within the next hour or so as to when people are starting to come in and pit.
And the other thing is, we don't. We'll just make it up, which is what I usually do.
We can make it up if you wanted.
And of course, the one last thing, as they are heading down out of Ascari down towards Parabolica, which is the last corner, is there's all this preparation, race strategy, setup, and everything else. You got to get around turn 1 and 2.
Indeed, especially on Monza, turn 1 and 2, absolute nightmare. I mean, we've all seen the Formula 1 crash with Hamilton and Verstappen a couple of years back. If they can get through those first 2 corners, I think you'll be okay. But then, really, you're through the next corner and you're back into another little chicane. So, yeah, this will be an interesting race start. I think maybe not focus on the leaders, maybe a couple back to see if they get their braking points right.
Well, we'll find out, I think, fairly quickly once it gets going. They are lining up side by side. Dazza on pole, Marge alongside. Row 2, Randy Flangepants and Rusty Spanner. Row 3, Chris V-Dub on the hand controller. And then Zoe Car SOS, who is the last of the GT3 runners. And then we're into the GT4s, which is Chicken Paxo and DB Kung. And we're away. And they all head off side by side. In the background there, it looked like Brownster trying to get in between DB Kung and Chicken Paxo. We'll see how it works out as they go down into the first corner. And it looks like, I'm trying to see who that is. I think that is Dazza on the inside there. It looks like they're all fairly clean round the first part of the corner. It looks like they're extremely well behaved. Oh, there's a little bit of bumping and boring between the GT4s. What are you seeing there, Dan?
Rusty Spanner's off. Rusty Spanner's off. We had a nice overtake from the Brownster on Chicken Paxo. I'm not too sure if that's still the case.
Let's have a quick look. The Brownster.
Oh, he has? Yeah.
So yes, the Brownster, as they are just shuffling through the totem pole, is quickly sorting its life out. But yes, at the moment, the front they look a bit stretched out, but down in that GT4 pack, they do look particularly racy at the moment.
Indeed. I think Zoe's going to have a bit of a problem now because she's got drivers in GT4 cars right directly in front of her. So her and Randy Flangepants are now in quite an awkward position.
Well, the cameraman is just catching up. So yeah, Zoe there in the McLaren, she's got the Brownster in front of her and Randy Flangepants hanging in there behind her as well. So this is interesting with the Brownster. How much further can he get up? Oh, and it looks like is that Zoe coming back at the Brownster down the inside into Ascari? Yes, it is, but the Brownster holds her off. But I don't know, what's the differential in top speed of the two classes?
Do you know what? I wouldn't want to say. I know I'd get it wrong.
I usually do. Well, there's a demonstration of it because Zoe on the run down to Parabolica has gone down the inside of the Brownster and got past and has regained that 5th place. So Brownster is now coming under a bit of pressure from, who is that, Randy Flangepants. So again, he unfortunately, it looks like the Brownster is quicker through the twisty bits, but is an absolute sitting duck on the straights.
Yeah, I think that's to be expected between the two classes, though.
But oh, and look at this, the Brownster diving on the brakes into turn 1. A little bit.
So good on the brakes.
He is, but to be fair to Randy Flangepants, he held him off. Oh, there was a very airborne-looking BMW in the background there. I'm just trying to see which one it was. I think that was Bazix, who I think was, he was so far up, he was picked up on air traffic control. So, but he does seem to have landed in a straight line. And, well, interestingly, both Bazix and Chicken Paxo are running the same livery, so it could have been either of them. Oh no, Randy Flangepants caught the curb at the second chicane, and he's lost out to the Brownster by the look of it. Yeah,
indeed, and now Paxo's through as well. I think Paxo's done really well considering, he's keeping up with the Brownster, and the Brownster's been making some questionable moves for a GT4 car on GT3 cars, but he's holding his own.
There was quite a launch at the first corner there, and looking at the background there, that's Rusty GT having a look at Chicken Paxo. Rusty GT in the grey McLaren there. Oh, hello! It's all gone pear-shaped at the entry to Ascari, and I don't know who exactly knocked the Brownster off, but the big winner in that was Chicken Paxo, because there were cars scattering in all directions, and Chicken Paxo just seemed to be in the middle of it and didn't get hit by anyone. So I'm not quite sure what that's done to Brownster's position.
So I've got Rusty GT UK directly in front of Chicken Paxo there, and Zoe unfortunately is behind those.
So that has got a little bit lively there, isn't it? So we've now got Chicken Paxo on Rusty GT. So this is a GT4 on GT4 battle down into the first chicane. And who are they catching? Is that Randy Flangepants in front of him in the McLaren? I think it is. So unfortunately I haven't got the legs on the straight to make a move on those GT3 cars. So
what's happened to the to number 21? G Marge seems to be far back. I didn't catch what happened to him.
No, I didn't actually. Let's have, oh, hang on. It might just be timing catching up, because he's now showing as fourth again.
He's just pushed up to fourth.
Yeah. Well, what we shouldn't forget about is we've had a leader since lap 1 who's Dazza, and he's off and gone. He's about 8 seconds up the road from Chris V Dub, who I commented hadn't had a very good qualifying, but look at that, he's managed to avoid all the carnage and he's through to second.
Chris V Dub using that V12 Aston Martin as well. Very good car choice.
Well, personally I do like a front engine rear drive, so he's certainly a man after my own heart, and he's in the last championship he was ironically using a very rear engine and rear drive Porsche 911.
A very difficult car to drive on this game, unfortunately. Very, very difficult car to set up as well.
Set up, that's a black art to me. I'll just get in and wring its neck.
As helpful as that is, it doesn't always get you the quicker times, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately I think you're right, but I'm a bit of a Luddite in that department. I'm just going to whiz back, because it looks like we've got some action around 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th with Chicken Paxo, Brazic. Yeah, the GT4 guys have, interestingly, after that initial elbowing their way up to the front, the GT4 guys have been nudged backwards, haven't they? So, but we do have a battle here with Brazics under pressure from DB Kung as they go down into the first chicane. DB Kung in the blue BMW pulls out. Very good. That's a what you call the MotoGP. Yeah, that's a MotoGP blocker move there. So that gets DB Kung up to 8th and drops Brazics down to 9th. Oh, sorry, was that on? Yeah, that was. I'm just trying. Yeah, that was. Yeah. I was losing track of who was who, because I was confusing Chicken Paxo with a BMW driver, and I don't really know how or why I managed to do that. So interesting. This has settled out more into an even GT3 and GT4 battle than I expected, and interestingly, one of our quick drivers, Donardi in the GT4 and the Chevrolet's in the pits.
Yeah, quite a brave choice for a Chevy in this kind of track. Zoe's also in the pits as well.
So I don't know whether
damage.
That was a coming together or not, but I can see that Donardi is rolling down the pit, so Zoe is quite a resilient character and she will stick at it. So, but interestingly, Donardi, by the look of it, has just been lapped, and we're only 8 minutes into the race, so that's going to be painful for a guy that's quite often up on the podium.
Yeah, indeed.
So, but that Mustang, not Mustang, Chevrolet, dear me, I'm trying to do too many things at once. The Chevrolet there, I do think it's a very good looking car, harks back to the older style, but at the moment it's not doing Donardi many favours there.
No, indeed it isn't. Brownster, I think, might be having a problem with the car. He's 5 seconds behind. having a look at the times now.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we've had another swap for second place actually at Chris V Dub. I think into the first chicane has actually been overtaken by Randy Flangepants in the blue McLaren. So yes, it has just updated. So I don't know whether Chris V Dub made a mistake there, but that's Randy Flangepants up onto the second step of the podium.
Unfortunately, he's 16. Well, no, unfortunately, he's doing fantastically. Actually, 16 seconds ahead is what I see.
Well,
he's got that Lambo set up really well, I think.
He has, and it's certainly not unfortunate for him. It's probably unfortunate for everybody else.
Yeah, indeed.
So, I'm just hopping back to look at the two BMWs of Bazux and Banff, who are running line astern. Now, these are teammates, so whether they're going to play nicely or not, I don't know, but there's only 0.8 of a second between them.
Yeah, indeed. And if they are playing teammates, they're not going to want to battle each other and push up onto DB Kung quickly, so they need to clear him before he starts making moves. He's 2 seconds in front at the moment.
I think DB Kung is pulling away from them rather than the other way round.
Yeah, indeed. The time's going above 2 seconds now.
But the other thing that's developing interestingly, we hadn't really sort of given him much credit, is Rusty GT, and all the elbowing and contretemps of the GT4 class. He's currently leading it, but he is coming under pressure from Chicken Paxo in that checkered KTM.
Yeah, he's not letting him out of his sights, is he? And I think he's going to try and make a move within the next couple of laps, I think.
So
if Ben's smart, he'll wait until the next chicane, I would have thought.
Is that KTM strong in the twisty bits or on the straights?
Very interesting. I honestly wouldn't know, having not driven that car. I know that Merc is a very quick car though, so definitely in a straight line it should have the edge.
Yeah, looking at it, Chicken Paxo doesn't seem to be noticeably closing. But you said about the two BMWs playing nicely. It doesn't look like they have, because one of them, they seem to be going almost side by side in the first chicane, and one of them's taken the scenic route, sort of by the polystyrene blocks. So I don't know if they're the gloves are off in Team Green BMW there.
Yeah, unfortunately, you always want to try and beat your teammate, don't you? So there's only so much friendship you can have.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So the one that's probably the one with the upper hand. Go on.
Right, Rusty GT's just made a mistake going wide into the first Lesbo, and I think the Paxo might get him on this next one.
I think let's have a look. They're down towards the Ascari chicane. He's tucked right under the rear wing of that Mercedes, but he can't quite get the legs on it. Oh, he can. He's diving up the inside.
No,
oh no,
that was a bad move.
That was
very bad move. He's caused a spin.
He has. That was a bit of a more of a lunge than was really a fair play, I would suggest.
Yeah, indeed. He's got his indicator on, but I don't think you need that at the moment. We all know where you've gone.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, that's cost Rusty GT quite a lot, because he's actually dropped behind DB Kung, Bazux and Banff as well, I think. So, unfortunately, he's gone for more.
I don't think so yet, but he is now right in their eye line. He's got Bazux right on his tailpipe. It won't be long before he's making a move.
No, I think it might have updated since then, because the two green. But oh no, DB Kung made. DB Kung made a massive mistake there, and the GT4 class have absolutely destroyed themselves. DB Kung made a big mistake into the first.
He's going to the pits.
Yeah, he's had to transpose back. DB Kung made a horrendous mistake. He missed his braking point by a country mile, and then it just turned into billiards, because he hit both BMWs and they were scattering everywhere, and then the debris came across the track and then took the other GT4 runners out.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
Rusty GT has recovered from that one, actually not too bad.
Yeah, I think the big winner in that one though is Brownster, who's pulled straight back into the lead again. Probably not the way he'd want to do it, but
yeah, he's remarkable, isn't he? He's shuffled his way from the front of that pack to the back of it,
yeah,
and then back the other way again.
Out of trouble. Yeah, indeed.
Well, he did get caught up with that. As the entry to Ascari seems to be the battleground, doesn't it? Where everyone seems to be trying to have a go. Well, apart from obviously what just happened at the first chicane, but that does seem to be the area for a bit of an attempt of a lunge, and it's ended in tears a couple of times there.
Yeah, it's not the corner that I'd like to overtake on. It's a bit too complex. I think making a move into the first chicane or the second chicane, definitely the way to go.
And for those of you who are confused, when I was getting excited thinking that Rusty GT had gone down further, I suddenly decided in my head he was driving the BMW, and I don't know why I came up with that plan, but that's where I confused myself, which is not something that happens too often, thankfully, but I did get it wrong on that occasion. But not confused at the moment is Rusty, because he looks like he's coming back on Bazek's, and as you mentioned rightly, Dan, the straight line speed of that Mercedes, he's down the inside into turn one. I think he's got it done, has he?
I think he has, yeah. Very good move.
Yeah, that was nice and tidy, that one, wasn't it? Very clean. So that's got Rusty GT back up to 7th now.
It has indeed.
Oh, and Chicken Paxo's gone for the pits, which is an interesting move. I don't know if that was for damage or strategic, because we're only 15 minutes into the race.
No, I'd say that's not a strategic thing. I think he's got damage there. If he's losing time, he's going to need to go into the pits.
Yeah, I think he got caught in the second half, or no, probably actually the first half of that DB Kung mistake. I think he got ran into the back of quite heavily into that first chicane.
Yeah, it's unfortunate really, because he'd made a few good moves and got himself into a decent position, and having a car come across you when you were 2 corners in front is not really fair, is it? But these things happen, it's racing. It's just the nature of the beast.
And the other good thing is they got 2.25 hours to sort it all out again.
Yeah, very much so. I think half of them should have maybe planned a pit strategy where they had damage and would need to come in early, and how they'd adjust for that. So more fuel, try and run along the stop. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just looking at a couple of cars there, particularly with who was that? I think that was Rusty GT's car. That's got quite a little bit of scraping down the side, so I think that's going to have a little bit of time added at his pit stop for repairs, obviously if he decides to do it. But I was just go on.
I'd say that if he's not losing time, then I wouldn't bother repairing. He seems to be performing quite well at the moment, especially against the BMWs. Oh, which, by the way, if you do get confused, you'd only be 50% wrong, considering half the GT4 grid are BMWs.
Yeah, it was my sort of default setting. Oh, it must be a BMW. Well, I've just hopped back to remind us that we have a leader of the overall race, which is Dazza 456 in the Lamborghini, and we talk about damage. I don't think he's got anything to worry about. The only potential dramas he might have is tripping over a back marker, and I'm just
which I think is going to happen sooner rather than later, because he's coming up on Zoe.
Yeah, I think Zoe is pretty good at jumping out of the way. In fact, I think she's jumped so far out of the way sometimes she's ended up off the track. So but interestingly, look what's not far ahead of him, which is the whole bundle of GT4 cars.
Yeah, they're going to be difficult to overtake. I think if in his position, he'll just be thinking, okay, I'll just follow these, get through the corner and take them on the straights. I think that's the best way, rather than making a dive up into a corner. Just take them on the straights.
Because we're only 18 minutes into the race, and he's already got 28 seconds on the second place car.
Yeah, he's doing really well and seemingly putting in consistent laps, so he's done well.
He doesn't need to sort of take any risks, but he obviously will want to clear these cars as quickly as he can. And it would be interesting. I wonder if there's a little bit of almost karma coming for some of these drivers who, and I'm going to choose my words carefully, are normally a little bit further down the grid, who are now getting caught up and overtaking and effectively lapped, or lapping the drivers that are normally quicker. So maybe there's a little bit of payback to come here.
Yeah, indeed. Just to interrupt you quickly, we've got a good battle forming between Chris V-Dub and Rusty Spanner at the moment.
Good
coming
spot.
into the Ascari. Yeah, I think Ascari, yeah.
Well, actually, Rusty Spanner has got by Chris V-Dub.
Yeah, indeed.
So I just missed that, but Chris V-Dub was up. I think he was up in second at one point, wasn't he?
I believe he was, yeah.
So, but he's still fighting along there. Now, the interesting thing I suppose we want to have a quick look at is what's the gap between Chris V-Dub, who is the back of the leading pack of GT3 cars, to the Brownster. Oh, it is quite a long way. It's quite a long way.
Yeah, I don't think Chris has got anything to worry about from the Brownster at the moment.
I think the only thing I might be worried about is if these GT3 drivers make mistakes which cost them an extra pit stop for damage or so on, that might be the only chance for them to be able to get in amongst the GT3 cars.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's a bit of a concern for both categories of drivers, really. If you're a GT4 car that has to pit and then come out in the mix of GT3 cars, it's not the best position because you're a small fish in a big pond then.
And especially with some of the GT4s seem to go well round the corners and then not so well on the straighty bits.
Indeed.
So, but interesting now, we've got Dazza, who is about to get in and amongst these GT4 races. So we've actually got two BMWs going side by side into Parabolica, and Dazza is coming up on them. So
yeah, he's playing it smart. He's waiting for the straight. This will be a nice easy overtake.
Yeah, just blasted by the pair of them. And interestingly, not only was he was lapping those two, I think DB Kung in the blue BMW there is trying to unlap himself because he's actually currently 13th, and behind him I'm not sure which of the green BMWs is that Basic. So
yeah, it is, yeah.
So I think that within the GT4 pack, that was DB Kung trying to unlap himself. That was all had the potential for a little bit of disaster, but thankfully they all gave each other space.
Yeah, Batix has just moved over so that Zoe could come through as well, which was rather nice of him.
So it must have been a bit of a nice moment for Zoe to to lap someone rather than the other way round. So it's always a nice spot. So actually she's about to catch up. Who's she catching up? Is that DB Kung? Yeah. Be interesting to just watch this, see what the speed differential is between these two. She nearly got it a little bit loose there, but actually that gave her a chance to come over to the other side of the track, so that's actually worked quite well for her. Yeah, so indeed. Yeah, she absolutely just breezed by the BMW there on the run down to Ascari. So she's working her way back up the field. Unfortunately, she lost all that time in that long pit stop at the start. So, but we've got a long race ahead. She could wind her way back in front of all these GT4 cars.
Oh, I have a feeling she will. It shouldn't take her long to make up the spaces again. Interestingly enough, I'm just watching Chris V-Dub at the moment. I have a feeling he might have a problem with tyres. He's dropped back quite far on Rusty Spanner.
Just hopping on to... Yeah, he has, because... Now, here's an interesting point for to throw up for a bit of discussion. Using that hand controller, because he's not able to put quite the same small increments into the steering that you can with the steering wheel, does that affect his tyre wear? Because he's possibly making some of those corners a bit, for us oldies, what you call a threepenny bit, more like a 50p piece rather than a nice round 10p. So I wonder if that has an effect on the tyre wear, because with that in that white Aston piece, you'll notice it actually in the graphics when he goes around the corner. Sometimes it just sort of makes a 50p piece out of the corner rather than a nice round 10p.
Yeah, indeed. I think if if he'd gone from a wheel to a controller, then he might suffer with that more in terms of tyres and stuff. But he's been doing this for quite a while now. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, he might be struggling a bit more with tyres, but I wouldn't normally expect him to be this far back or struggling this much.
But he's still not a massive time apart, and the one thing that's gradually happened is obviously it's become daylight, and we are going to start warming up. We are going to get to the middle of the day, so temperatures are going to warm. So maybe if he's got the right setup, he might come back to the cars in front of him a bit later in the race.
Yeah, possibly. If he's, it depends how far he's gone. If he's gone too high on the pressures and they're overheating, your tyre wear is going to be greater. But looking at what's just happened, he's gone wide into the first Lesbo. Yeah, yeah, he does seem to be struggling an awful lot.
So that your suggestion that the tyres were going to be the limiting factor, that suggests he's going to be one of our definite two stoppers. So probably what, 2.5 hours you're going to be looking at. Ooh, I don't know, probably 40 minutes for a pit stop.
Yeah, between 40 and 50 minutes would be the pit window.
Sorry?
Especially for the 40 to 50 minutes for the first pit window, because the track is going to start heating up. So you want to adjust the pressures for the next set. So you want to drop those pressures a little bit. And for Chris, potentially a bit more. Depends on what's happening with his tyres. He looks like he's going through them though.
So it could be an opportunity to maybe get in a bit earlier and get a better set of tyres on there and see if that brings him out in a better place once everybody's cycled through their first pit stop, maybe.
Indeed. Just having a look at Zoe in the Ferrari there. She's just past Brownster, so she's making her way through them.
She is, and it's showing her at technically 5.5 seconds behind Chicken Paxo. Is that correct?
It does indeed.
So yeah, that is going to be, she's going to be up behind Chicken Paxo very quickly, actually showing her 3.4 seconds. So despite oh no, that's the curse of the commentator, just coming out of Ascari, the final bit of the chicane. She caught the curb, she was airborne, and unfortunately went straight into the barrier on the exit. So she's just heading towards the parabolic. It looks quite damaged at the front in that Ferrari at the moment. I think that is was that Donardi? No, it wasn't Donardi, it was a BMW. Brownster, wasn't it?
Brownster has just come through.
So I don't know if she's going to have to head to the pits for that one. No, she's staying out. So, and it looks like the Brownster's pulling across there for Zoe to come by, but Zoe possibly has lost a little bit of top speed with that instant. Has she got it? You're not going to beat Brownster on the brakes, are you? Not into that first chicane.
Definitely not.
So I think she's staying out, so hopefully that damage is not too bad and she can live with it until the next pit stop. So, but there she goes, she's going round the outside of Gran Curva, so looks like she's got that done. So she's back in front of Brownster and now on her way to catch, she was coming up behind Chicken Paxo, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that overtake there was not for position, actually, was it? That was an unlapping, but
no, it was an unlapping.
But on Chicken Paxo, that will be for position. So she is starting to make her way forward. So we'll keep an eye on her up there and up the front. Just trying to see if we've got anything developing. Just the only thing I can see where people are running a little bit close is Rusty Spanner in the Audi is only about 3 seconds behind Marge. So
yeah, Marge has just gone wide as well, so that was just is closed right down. He needs to come back on the track quick.
Unfortunately, he didn't come back on the track quick enough, and we got that just at the right time because Rusty Spanner was through and onto the podium. So that I don't think Marge will have picked up a lot of damage there in his Lambo. But he is now on the back foot there and has got Rusty Spanner in front of him, and obviously he's going to try and get that third place back.
Indeed. I think within the next 15 minutes we're going to start seeing people pit, because there's a lot of drivers now starting to go wide into those corners.
Which one do you think of the corners is the one that's going to be the first one that'll catch you? My guess probably would be Parabolica, because you're trying to get the power on and it just wants to scrub its way out on the exit, doesn't it?
Either that or Ascari. Well, Rusty GT's just had to take the escape exit.
Is that all that demolition behind him, all down to him?
Oh, I think that was already there, unfortunately, from the crash earlier.
There's a poor Italian bloke with a brush and dustpan that's going to have a long job come the end of this race, sorting out all that polystyrene. It looks, actually, I've just noticed that it was obviously an earlier incident. The second chicane, somebody's taken out the brake markers by the look of it on the way into it, so looks like someone's had a little bit of an adventure there. But for all their detours, Rusty GT still hanging on to second place in the GT4 category.
Yeah, but he's coming. He's got. Who is it behind him? It's not Classics.
I think that's DB Kung behind him.
Oh, it's DB Kung, yeah. Yeah, but unfortunately he's a couple of laps or a lap down at least.
He is quite a long way out of position there. Now, interestingly, we've got Randy Flangepants, who... Oh, no, he was gone.
Oh, G Marge has just gone off as well.
Marge has gone off
the
as well. Oh, and Chris... Interestingly, we were talking about Chris V-Dub, weren't we? Oh, the cameraman's just trying to catch up with Marge. Was that a big incident? It seems to be quite slow away, Marge. He's heading back away from Lesmo too.
I did say that he was struggling into the corners and going wide.
Yeah, there looks like a bit of wear and tear around the front of that Lambo. And talking of wear and tear, Chris VW, we were talking about with tyre wear, is into the pits. So that's after just 30 minutes.
I didn't see. Did he pull in or did he warp in?
I think he pulled in, but Marge is recovering and looks like in Parabolica he is still overtaking the GT4 cars, so he's not going horribly backwards. It'll be interesting to see how long Chris spends in the pits, because he was starting to fight that Aston quite a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's longer than the sort of 30 seconds I was expecting.
Yeah, that's more than the 30-second station. I'd agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
So
hopefully this is not going to impact him too much.
Well, it will be our first marker when the others pit as to where everybody's going to sort of filter out together, really, won't he? So it looks like he's rolling.
Is he rolling? He'll be in. Yep, he is indeed. It'll be interesting to see, because Zoe is catching up again, so it'll be interesting to see where they come out with.
So he's by Chicken Paxo already, and 23 seconds behind Donardi. So with the differential, what we're saying, 4 or 5 seconds, that's going to be 5 laps, and Zoe, you know, with 4 or 5 clean laps, Zoe can be on the back of Donardi. And actually not going to be, it's going to be a little way behind Chris V-Dub, but it's interesting that he's fallen back into the GT4 cars as Chris V-Dub in the Aston there. So I wonder
it does look a bit wobbly.
I wonder if the other drivers have noted that were in front of him, because that gives them a good idea. Obviously we think he had a little bit of damage, but obviously he's getting his tyres up to temperature as well, but he's obviously coming out right in the middle of the traffic there. No, he hasn't. Sorry, I'm just looking at the wrong car. I do apologise. I'm trying to look at multiple things again tonight and getting it horribly wrong.
Now I'm following Marge at the moment, and he's not actually coming in, which is surprising. I thought he'd be the next one in. I'll catch up with him on the next lap.
Well, I suppose that's a dilemma, isn't it? You've got a bit of damage, but you've got a strategy in your head which is like, I don't know, 3 45-minute stops. So he's only got to hang on for another 10 minutes and he's still sort of on point for his original strategy, isn't he?
Yeah, no, indeed. If he can make it last and he's only dropping a second a lap, it's not really worth coming in early.
So I'm just looking at the leaders of the GT4 pack, and interesting, I hadn't particularly logged in my head the gap, but there is only 2 seconds between Rusty GT and the Brownster. So in my head, I'm thinking that's closer than what it was. I don't know, or was I hallucinating that?
So I'm seeing it as 2 seconds. 2 seconds back from Rusty GT to Brownster.
Yeah, now down to 1.9 at the second split.
Yeah, he does seem to be catching him.
Yeah, which is, I think Brownster had that little bit of an adventure earlier, and obviously Rusty GT's had a little bit of an adventure when Chicken Paxo and him had that coming together. But I'm interested to see Rusty GT having that pace to actually wind the Brownster in by the look of it. They're coming around to the finishing line. Be interesting to see what the gap is then. I don't know if Brownster's had a little adventure that we're not aware of, but if we cross the line, it's back out to 2.2, so it's staying, it's sort of flexing as they go around the laps, but staying sort of relatively stable.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that the Brownster's tyres are starting to wear a bit, so he's eased off, and now that they're coming back at him, he's put the hammer down.
Brownster's one, my feeling is, and I'm obviously referring mainly to GT3 cars, he's generally fairly easy, I think, on his tyres. So I am quite surprised that he is running into to problems already. But obviously it's a slightly different car, and he, I think he's just as I say that, he's gone airborne at the second chicane, isn't he? So that brings Rusty GT back into play again. And I'm trying. Who's that they've got in between them in the other Mercedes?
So Rusty GT's right behind him. You've got DB Kung behind him in the BM.
Of course. I'm at it again with that BMW, aren't I? What am I doing? Right. It's the pressure of having someone with me. But that gap is no longer 2 seconds, is it? That's what, half a second with those between those two Mercedes there?
Yeah, I'd say so. Not close enough to make a move, I wouldn't have said. Not now.
But he's doing that.
0.4.
He's doing that. Let's be annoying in the rear view mirrors routine on Brownster is Rusty GT at the moment. So, but obviously the other advantage, he's getting his little bit slipstream there. And interestingly, Brownster's going defensive down towards Parabolica, so he's obviously concerned.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, if he can get a good exit out here, Rusty could be in line for a move onto the first chicane, so I think Brownster needs to play it really defensive here, make sure he gets a good exit out. Yeah, he's already going defensive, he's trying to break that toe.
An interest coming out of Parabolica, Rusty GT seemed to be able to keep so much more of a tighter line than what the Brownster did, so it comes back to your thought that the Brownster maybe has chewed his tyres out.
Yeah, potentially. If he's gone whole hog right at the beginning, he's just worn the tyres down too quickly.
And the other thing I noticed there was the thing that we rarely see was that Rusty GT did seem to be very much better on the brakes than what the Brownster was. And with that, all those defensive moves of the Brownster in that red and black Mercedes, that does suggest that he's feeling vulnerable.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, this is where he made a mistake last time. He's taken it a lot easier now, avoided that sausage curve, which is the wisest thing he can do. I think he's gonna have to go defensive. Just get through these 2 corners, get a good exit off the second Lesmo, and really defend into Ascari.
Looks like he's pulled the gap out a little bit. We'll see. We're just coming. The second split is just before the Ascari chicane, so. It's interesting to see in the background there, DB Kung in that blue BMW is very much on the same pace as these guys. So, unfortunately, he's out of position compared to these two. He's actually still down in 13th, following an incident he had earlier. So that's a pity because he could have been right up there.
Still 2 laps down. Yeah, indeed. Indeed, it is a shame when things like that happen.
but then he's got one pit stop out of the way, so he might only need to have one more before the end of the race. So, okay, he's going to lose the damage time, but he might not be that far out once we get to the end.
You can see the two different lines coming in here between the Brownster and Rusty.
I
think the Brownster's got a decent exit as well.
Yeah, looks like he's made a much better job of it this lap, and he's pulled that gap back out from, it was down to what, 0.2, and it's back up to 1.5. We do have a pit stopper. We've got Rusty Spanner in the Audi there, who was running in 3rd place. He is in the pits at the moment, so we're just into that sort of 2 pit stop-ish kind of window, aren't we? We're after 40 minutes of the race.
Yeah, I believe so. Depends on how long he goes with his stint. I mean, your options are: do you have a really quick first stint and then hang out the next one, or do you try and go long in the first stint?
Whoa!
Limit your fuel for last.
Brownster's out. Brownster's spun it. He's done a full 360 on the exit of the 2nd chicane, and that has eventually handed that place to Rusty GT.
Has that DB Kung's come through as well? Is it?
He has.
Yeah, it has by the looks of it.
It was full 360 there by the Brownster.
And Marge has just gone off as well. I don't know whether he was full stop there or lost a bit of grip.
Brownster and Marge did seem to be rather on the same bit of tarmac, shall we say. So whether there was a coming together there that caused that, but let's let them all get past the 2nd split, and then we'll have a better idea. But yeah, Brownster's lost 6 seconds on Rusty GT there now.
Yeah, he's got a lot of making up to do now.
So he did seem to be fighting that Mercedes quite a bit, and then all of a sudden he seemed to sort of get it under, and it just that nemesis at that exit curve from the 2nd chicane just got him again. But this time he was completely up in the air, and it was around before he hit the tarmac again. Oh, and he's looking a bit sideways coming out of Parabolica.
Yeah, he's quite wide, isn't he?
So
I think he's going to have to start taking it easy into that 2nd chicane.
Or is it time to pull the trigger and get the pit stop out of the way? It's a little bit early, but it's probably time to get those boots off and get a fresh set on, surely.
Yeah, I agree. If you're losing time, it's just worth coming in. You've got plenty of time to make up the deficit.
Just as a side note, I do like how the drivers have respected those arrowed blocks at the 1st chicane, where you're supposed to go sort of like a chicane through them. They've obviously clearly ignored that and just gone straight through them and destroyed them as they went. So just having a look, DB Kung is just being that was Marge, I think, isn't it, trying to come back by DB Kung?
He's trying to come back on DB Kung, yeah.
Don't know if he's struggling because of that damage and can't actually get it quite as he can't use that speed advantage.
Indeed, if he's got damage to his aero, he's going to be struggling in those higher speed corners.
Or even down the straight there. He's managed to get by on the run down to Ascari, but for a different class of car, it did seem rather hard work there.
Indeed.
So we are very close to 45 minutes in, so I think we are probably going to see a rash of pit stops, unless someone is going to go really brave and try and go hour and a quarter. Which may be a little bit optimistic. We ought to give a little bit of note to our guys up the front, really. We've forgotten about poor old Daz. He's pounding away, not hitting anything, not getting in anyone's way, or well, he wouldn't get in his way because he's the fastest car out there. But nothing seems to be to stopping him, and he's just coming up on one of the BMWs to
he's coming up on Basix, who's moved out of the way, fortunately.
Well, Basix was I wonder if Basix was indicating for the pit. So yeah, Basix has let him through, but yeah, let's have a look. He's just heading into the first chicane, and Randy Flangepants is on the run down to Ascari. So we could be in one of these old school Formula One races where the leader actually laps everybody.
I think that's going to be the case. Whatever Daz is doing is he's certainly hit the nail on the head with this one, hasn't he?
Well,
he's got the setup perfect.
Well, excuse me. We're 45 minutes in, and he's already sort of half the racetrack ahead of second place. So yeah, he should be able to pin that one. But I do want, Randy Flangepants. He's generally, when it's all GT3, he's a sort of reasonable midfield player. But he's putting in a great performance here, I think, tonight, because he's keeping it clean. I haven't seen him have any great adventures. He's moved his way forward because he overtook Chris V Dub, and I think he overtook possibly a couple of others. So he seems to have gelled really well with that McLaren tonight.
I think staying out of trouble is going to be the key with endurance races, isn't it? I mean, in sprint races you can really go for it, and if you make a mistake, that's your race done. But with endurance races, if you keep out of trouble, typically you get sort of 30 seconds to a minute ahead, which is obviously what these guys are doing. I mean, Marge is now sort of 30 seconds back on Randy Flangepants, at least.
And Marge has had a couple of little trips through the gravel. Now, we haven't followed all the drivers all the time, but Randy does seem to be keeping it fairly neat and tidy, whereas Marge has cost himself sort of 5 seconds here and 5 seconds there, and suddenly he's a long way back.
Yeah, interestingly, Rusty Spanner's quite far back. He's having a little battle with Chris V-Dub at the moment. Chris is obviously behind because of he's down laps because of the pit.
But, because we've got Chris V-Dub on obviously fresher tyres, but effectively he's a lap, or 99.5% of a lap behind there, isn't he? So
yeah, indeed.
You would sort of expect him to have sort of the pace of the Audi there, but maybe he is just doing the gentleman thing of letting it by without losing himself too much time. Because once Rusty pits, he's going to lose sort of at least 30 seconds plus the time in and out. So what's that? Probably a 45-second loss on what is about a 1 minute 50 lap.
Yeah, indeed. Just an update, Randy's come in for his pit stop, so
right on schedule.
Definitely a two-stopper for the GT3 cars.
I wonder if the GT4s are going for a single stopper, because nobody else after 45 minutes. Well, strategically, Chris V-Dub has pitted, I know, but I don't think I've spotted any. Okay, some of the GT4s have had early stops because of incident, but I haven't seen like a rash of cars into the pits to fit a two-stop even strategy.
Yeah, I think the two key ones to look out for are when Brownster comes in or when Rusty GT comes in. I think they're going to be the ones that kick off the GT4 round of pit stops. Well,
Brownster's still got that rough 6 seconds. Let's find the Brownster in his red and black Merc there. The Brownster's still got that sort of deficit of about 6 seconds to Rusty GT, which he had after that spin. So he has sort of maintained that gap, but we felt he'd taken a lot of life out of those tyres, but maybe he's got a plan there.
Well, potentially, but I don't know what it is.
I was thinking, after I said that, I thought, I wonder what the plan could be, and I thought, unless it's some kind of long one-stopper kind of strategy, but it's going to take so much life out of those tyres. Okay, he's going to gain 45 seconds, which obviously if Rusty GT in front of him pits twice, that's going to probably, I don't know, it'll probably be quite tight come the end of the race, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess it would be. As if that goes ahead. I think the GT4 cars might be a one-stop though. Because none of them seem like they want to come in anytime soon, do they?
No. And we're sort of at the back end of that 40-50 minute window from the start where you would sort of expected them to have gone in. But the other one that hasn't gone in, well, two that haven't gone in is Marge and Dazza. So they're GT3s and we're nearly 50 minutes in and they haven't gone in. So are they trying a little bit of a brave one and trying to go the long way, which is not impossible, but I think unless you've got something like the Bentley, which we know's got a big tank, I think you're into sort of winding the engine back to be able to make it on the fuel, wouldn't you? Or have I got that wrong?
No, you're correct. You mean you do in this game have engine settings where you can actually go for longer, but I still would have thought that they would be on the max settings. So your max engine speed, which is the most usage of fuel. Daz has just made a good pass on Chicken Pacto there. I think Ben's actually let him through. He is courteous like that if he's not actually racing you.
Yeah, because Chicken Pacto had that pit stop earlier, didn't he? So
he did, which is why he's so far back. Yeah.
So, but see, he's pitted at a point where oh, hang on, we have got a little bit of development, but I think it's already developed, which was Chris V Dub. Oh, has got by Bazix, but that was full position, but they are in different classes there. So Chris V Dub was holding the, how should you say, the balance of power on that one.
Yeah, so I think so.
He's gone by and cleared off. So he's got the Brownster, who is 16 seconds up the road, but of course the Brownster hasn't stopped yet, nor has Rusty GT. So there could be a bit of hair and tortoise here with these lower GT3 runners, because if they're going to have to pit again and the GT4s aren't, the GT4s are going to have to pit, aren't they? Sorry, I'm talking rubbish as usual, because they're both going to have one more pit stop each, aren't they?
I think at least. I think the sorry, what was I saying? Most of the GT4 cars haven't pitted unless they've had mechanical damage, so most of them are going to have to come in at least once, I would have thought. I don't think they can run all on one tank. But I'd be expecting to see them come in fairly soon. Another half hour, maybe.
Well, I think you're right. I think we are looking, if they are one stopping. Or, well, there's another strategy here we haven't thought about. Is of course you can just do a splash and dash. So they could be running, say, best part of an hour, then another hour, and then, or as long as they can go, and then just putting fuel in and not tyres, which obviously gives you a pretty quick pit stop towards the end.
Indeed, but then you've got fairly worn tyres. I think if I was coming in, I'd want the fresher rubber so that I could get out and actually put the light car to use. So, I mean, it is a strategy, and you should definitely have a look into it.
But if you've got, say, 20 seconds advantage, or even maybe 25 by not refueling the car, you've got to have quite, if you've got, say, at that point 10 laps to the end, and you're going to have 2 seconds a lap you can give away and still be ahead. I'm hoping my frantic mental arithmetic there was logical, which I think it was. So if you've got 20 seconds in hand and 10 laps, that's 2 seconds a lap. So as long as you don't lose more than that, you're in the pound seats there, surely. And also the other advantage you'd have is track position.
Very true. I mean, from my personal experience, when I've been driving in Race Club, I've never once considered that kind of strategy. I just wanted to make sure that I always had fuel in the car and I didn't run out. It would be interesting.
I've got caught out with it once on a 2-hour race that dictated a 2-stop strategy, and like a plonker, I thought, okay, it was a 2-hour race, so it was like 40 minutes. I thought 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes. So I went in at 40 minutes, along with several other drivers, and the quick guys stayed out. And I thought that's odd. Anyway, they got to like an hour and they all pitted, and I'm thinking, they haven't read the rule book on this one. And then about a lap from the end, they shot in, did a 3-second splash and dash, cleared off out again, and of course they sort of gained effectively 28 seconds.
Oh, very clever strategy, that one then.
Yeah, unfortunately it wasn't one that I had.
Yeah, indeed, but I think with the rules in this, there is no minimum pit stop, is there?
No,
So
it was completely open on that one.
Yeah, so if people could do just a one stop, I think they would have done that. We might see that towards the end though. There's nothing saying that we won't see that at the end, because if people are actually okay on their tyres, I mean the track is now set to fast, so it's rubbered in quite well. Temperature's come up a couple of degrees. We may see that at the end.
Do we think the track will evolve as fast to optimum as well, so that would bring lap times down even further?
We'll have to see how it goes, because it's set to ×3, isn't it? And we started at like 5 in the morning. So what would we be now? Sort of 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, I would have thought.
Well, we're getting on. Yeah, I reckon you're in that kind of window. Yeah. Oh, our leader has pitted. Our leader has pitted.
Oh, he's come in. 29 laps.
29 laps and 55 minutes. So, you did sort of, I would suggest, dismissed my splash and dash at the end strategy, but that for me suggests that's possibly what Daz is going to do there, because another 55 minutes and then 10 minutes to the end, maybe.
I think you might be right, actually. You might be listening to the stream and thinking, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll change our strategy up.
So, because where is Marge? So Marge is still carrying that damage from his various adventures, and he is carrying on the run down towards Parabolica. So he's Daz is out already. We mustn't. Daz is through the first chicane, so Daz has been able to pit and retain the lead. So the only one that's out of sequence there now really is, I think, Marge, isn't it? Because he hasn't pitted yet, but all the others have. Of the GT3s up at the front, but the one that is making a bit of a move, I think, is Rusty Spanner in the Audi, because he is catching Randy Flangepants, who's just had a little bit of an adventure across Ascari, and it looks like he's lost speed out of Ascari, and Rusty Spanner has got him on the run down to Parabolica, and that is Rusty Spanner in the Audi up to third, and the blue McLaren down to fourth.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it? That's the problem, really. One small mistake and your competitors will capitalise.
And that seems to be the thing that does differentiate between those guys up the front and the guys further back, is the number of mistakes. Those guys up the front, we had a race at Brands Hatch and they were absolutely nose to tail, the sort of top 6 for the whole race, and just no quarter asked or given. And Randy getting a little bit sideways there on the exit of the first chicane, and they went lights to the flag the whole way, and it's just that, that little error, and I've suffered it myself very much in the past, that you just think, oh no, just a little bit wide, and all of a sudden you're in the barrier, and all your hard work's gone up in the puff of smoke.
Yeah, indeed. I think when you're being chased as well, there's a lot of pressure on you not to make a mistake, whereas if you're the chasing car, just applying that little bit of pressure, just showing them that you're, getting in their mirrors, showing them that you're there. I mean, Randy's done exactly the same thing to Rusty Spanner there. He's shown that he's in his mirrors. I'm right here. You make one little mistake, boy, and I'm coming for you.
Just one of the guy who was, I think, 5th, was he? Rusty GT. He's
He's come in.
There's too many Rusties. I was confusing him with Rusty Spanner. Rusty GT, who was second in, or leading, the GT4s, he's pitted, and so has Bamp. He's gone for the pits as well. So the GT4s are starting to come in on the hour, interestingly. So is that the limit of their tyres and fuel, maybe?
Well, this I think is where strategy's going to come in, because Brownster's not come in yet, and the two that I was curious about was Rusty GT and the Brownster. So maybe the Brownster's had a bit more thought of the strategy and is going deeper into the race. I'm going to come out with fresher tyres and less fuel towards the end.
Or if he can stretch it another 15 minutes, he's got a one-stopper on his hands.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, and it looks like, sorry to cut across you, but Rusty Spanner went deep at the first chicane, and Randy Flanchpants was there to scoop up that third position again, and he's got it by a second or so as they go into Grand Curva. So a mistake by Rusty Spanner gave third place to, or second place to Rusty Spanner, and then the reverse happened at the first chicane. So these two are really slugging it out for that second place on the podium.
Okay, so we've got Bamfin and Marge has just come out of the pits as well, so we're in the kind of ballpark of pit stops now.
Now where's interesting, let's see how far behind these two is Marge. So Marge is at the first chicane, and Rusty Spanner, and there's quite a gap there so at the moment between those guys in second and third, and Marge in fourth. So Randy Flanchpants having the race of his life there at the moment. He's there hanging on to that second place, and he's lost it to Rusty Spanner and now got it back again. So, and now they're coming up on a lap car, which is the Chevrolet of Donardi. So is that going to play a factor into this? No, they're both by it as they go into the Parabolica. Yep, they're both clear of it. So I think this is the best battle on the track at the moment, unless you can tell me different, Dan. Are you still there, Dan?
Apologies, I'm still here. Just a quick splash and dash for myself.
Okay, that's fair enough. You should take the mic with you, and then you have to just interrupt when you have to talk. So that's what I have to do when I'm on my own. You'll have to nudge me just to say keep talking, and I can keep going for for 10 minutes before you come back.
No worries.
So yeah, but what I was saying was Randy Flanchpants' Rusty Spanner battle seems to be the closest one on the track at the moment.
Definitely, and I think it's going to be that way for the next few laps at least.
And looking down the GT4s, it does look like we've got, what is it, 13 minutes till we get to half distance. So as the Brownster and Bazzacks pulled off a blinder here by managing to be able to drag that out to half distance, which is why maybe, here's a thought process for you, because I'm trying to think and talk at the same time, which is generally beyond my abilities, that the Brownster has turned his engine down, and so has Bazzacks, so they're working to get to that half distance and do it on one stop.
Yeah, I think when you're at this point, I think that's exactly what they've done. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, but the next 13 minutes is going to tell us. But we'll keep an eye on this battle between Randy Flanchpants in the blue McLaren and the black and white Audi of Rusty Spanner, because this is the closest one we've got on track at the moment. And at the moment, it just looks like Randy is just maybe stretching it a little bit from the Audi.
He does seem to be, but what's going to be interesting is within the next lap or so, they're going to pull up on the GT4 of Rusty GT. So how they both pass him is going to be crucial, I think.
And of course, Rusty GT has got his own efforts at the moment of trying to catch up with the leaders of the GT4 race at the moment, who are a little way in front of him. And actually between them, Zoe is making her way back. She's back up to 8th, so not too far behind Bazzacks in front, so she's working her way back forward, so she should get us way back to the front of the GT4 pack.
Yeah, indeed. She's starting to run a good race now. Keep herself clean, which is good.
We must remind that we do have a race leader, as we see him just passing the Brownster. So that's the leader of the GT3 class, lapping the leader of the GT4 class at the moment. But there's Dazza just coming up to the second chicane, who is just running majestically, really, subject to making what would have to be a fairly cataclysmic mistake. I think he's fairly much got this one in the bag, don't you think?
Oh, I don't think it's safe to say things like that at this point in the time. We don't want to commentator curse the poor guy.
Well, it improves the action. That's why I say these kind of things. If it all goes quiet, Dan, what you do is you just say, "Oh well, it's the old Murray Walker. He's got a clear windscreen in front of him. He's going for victory. You just know he's going to run into a grass bank."
Oh, I can't do that to the poor guy.
Well, I'm just going to hop away from Dazza there as we watch him in the lead. It looks like Randy Flanchpans is now stretching that gap to the Audi. So both of these guys from memory. Oh, hello!
Oh, he's gone through.
He has. That will be it.
He's got to give that back.
Let's have a look. They're waiting for the camera to turn up. Yeah, he has. He's gone across the grass there, but that's cost him a whole chunk of time there, isn't he? We'll stay with him up to the first timing slot at the end of Grand Curve, but that's a good 3 or 4 seconds now, whereas it was just a second. So
yeah, indeed.
Yeah, 3.1.
I think at the moment he's going to be hoping that Rusty GT's on his side and holds him up a bit.
The other thing is that's taken the pressure very much off Randy Flanchpants there in second, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can't take your foot off the gas too much, because you'll only back yourself into him again.
Oh yeah, very much so. So let's have a look. What else have we got developing? Well, we've got 10 minutes to half race distance, so that's sort of where we're expecting them all to start pulling the trigger in this GT4 class. But the ones who are going to be out of sync are people like Chicken Paxo, aren't they?
Yeah, indeed. Having to make that early pit stop has really thrown them off, I think.
Because if you're one stop and have to go to a two, that's fairly terminal for your race efforts there, really, isn't it?
Indeed.
And just notice Zoe has moved up another position. She's up to 7th. She's just got by Bassett, so she's continuing her march back up the field. So had a little adventure early on, but she's certainly got it back in the groove now, and hopefully not going to curse her like I did last time. No, she's looking quite slick there through the second chicane. And it's interesting when you get these races, you do sometimes get into quite a groove, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing for you to do is sort of go 90%, keep yourself in that zone, just pump in consistent lap times, try not to make any mistakes. But obviously when the visor's down and you've got someone in front of you, the red mist does tend to descend.
It does. It's interesting you say go at 90%. I feel like I'm going at 120% and I still can't keep up with them, but then that's my way of just grabbing by the scruff of the neck and hoping my incredible amount of ability will make the difference. But as we've discussed earlier, it's a case of the data setting and so on is very much more important, or data research and settings are so much more important than what they were 20 years ago.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, obviously as technology increases, we sort of pull ourselves quicker and quicker and quicker, just because we've got the information of what to change. So, but if I've learned anything from racing and being sort of 90%, like I said, from my racing season this year, keeping out of trouble was very much the reason why I got the positions that I was able to get. So, keep yourself out of trouble.
Talking to positions, Margin 4th is in the pits. Isn't that for the second time?
It would be for the second time. Now, it'd be interesting to see if he repairs the damage that we saw.
Well, I did see him going in, or did I see him going in the pits? Only just a lap or so ago. but he does seem stationary. So I'm sure he went in a couple of laps ago. So I don't know, and he's not come up with having a penalty or anything like that. But it does look like he's moving again. So that has dropped him quite a way back. Let's see where he's coming out of the pits now. Where's Chris V Dub? Oh, Chris V Dub is blasting down the straight, and Marge is just going into the first chicane. So Chris V Dub has got a whiff of a fourth place here, I think.
Yeah, and that's really going to push his. It's really going to push him on. He's got someone to chase now, and it's 4 race positions. So. Interestingly enough, we got Dazzle right behind him though, so and because this is now GT3 on GT3 car, the pass might be a bit more difficult.
It might, but the other thing is, with 1 hour 20 to go, is Marge going to be able to run that car to the end? Because we're pretty confident Chris V Dub's going to have to pit again, because he was one of the early pitters. So he's going to have to go in again. But interestingly, with 1 hour 20 to go, I don't know if Marge can wring that out to the end of the race. But then, of course, he could just get away with a splash and dash and have a fairly short pit stop. So this one may develop a little bit between these two, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Your tactic of last-minute splash and dash might actually come into play for a lot of these people that have had to pit for mechanical damage.
Yes, but I think for some of the GT4s, it's probably killed their race, unfortunately, because they're, if you're a one, I think I covered this earlier, but if you're on 1 stop and suddenly you go to a 2 stop, you're bringing a whole load of pain to your race there, aren't you?
Yeah, indeed, and I'd like to think that some of the drivers would have maybe thought about this and had different strategies depending on whether they'd have to do a 2 stop. But you don't know.
You don't. Just keep an eye. Just going to hop away from Marge there in his Lambo to that battle we've got for 2nd place, and Randy Flangepants is just slowly being caught by that black and white Audi of Rusty Spanner. The gap was over 3 seconds. It's now sort of 2.7, so it's not great leaping forward, but these two do seem to be on a very even pace.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting battle. It'd be nice to see where they are in the next 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, because the other thing, unfortunately, with the slightly lumpy technology of Assetto Corsa, we're not able to hop in to see exactly what their lap times are and how they're comparing, because actually Randy Flangepants has stretched that gap out by 0.1 through that 2nd sector, so it is working its way through, sort of backwards and forwards between those two, but obviously if one of them has a big mistake, that could put a completely different complexion on it.
Oh yeah, indeed, there's still all to play for. You can't lower your game, but if you can drive at sort of 90-95%, reduce the mistakes and still be able to pull away, then you should be safe till the end of the race, I would have said.
So I'm just looking around the track to see if we've got anything that's particularly developing. I can't see anything at the moment, but
I think something that will... Sorry, go on.
Are you thinking pit stops?
I'm actually looking at the gap between Chicken Paxo and Donardi, which I believe is actually coming down, with Paxo catching Donardi. But I'll keep an eye on it and report back if we find anything.
Yeah, I've just hopped onto them. That it looks like to me that KTM was it was designed by someone who was into origami, I think, really, by the shapes and the design of it. I'm sure there's an explanation as to why it's that particular shape with all very sharp edges and so on. But it just, when you compare it to the other sort of sports cars and supercars, it just doesn't look very sort of aerodynamic, possibly.
To me, it looks like a squashed McLaren 720S.
It's got which seems to me be unusual, those very vertical sides and very sharp corners on it, where my understanding of aerodynamics, which has come from the sole source of Adrian Newey's autobiography, is you want to stop the air doing sort of vortex bits off the corners of wings and so on as much as you can, and that car with those sharp edges, I think fairly much sort of seems to suggest it wants to do that, because it's going to have air flying off in all directions. But it seems to be doing a fair job around this track at the moment, and as you say, at the moment he's catching Donardi.
Yeah, indeed, the time is slowly coming down. I don't want to put Donardi under any pressure, but
we do, because we want mistakes and we want things to happen, so that's what we want to do. And talking the things that are going to happen, I reckon we're on 116. The old pit stops are going to be, the triggers are going to be pulled, I reckon, any minute now.
Yeah, well, both these drivers have actually pitted already, so I think they might be staying out for a little bit longer.
But the likes of the Brownster and Bassett. See, as Brownster just come out of his long game again, and we didn't see it coming, that we thought he was off the pace as he got damaged, as he burnt his tyres, and actually he was sat back there with the power turned down, the stereo on, and a nice cigar tapped on the dashboard, and was very much playing the long game, thinking, I know I can go this on a one-stopper, and I think everybody else will be going too.
Yeah, indeed. He hasn't come in yet, has he?
No, we're literally just clicking down to that 1:15 to go, and of course he had the fuel in it for the outlap as well. So shall we find him on the track and follow him and just see what he's going to do, because he has actually just gone by the pits.
We are halfway through, not over yet.
There we go, we have a little announcement that we are halfway through. So the Brownster's just coming out of the first chicane, so I reckon he's going to come in at the end of this lap. There we go, commentator prediction.
I don't know, I think he might push it a little bit further, you know. Although that Mercedes must be running on fumes at the moment.
Well, again, that was the thing we didn't know, is how long these could run, but then he could have the power turned down, but then the tyres, we've seen him have a couple of mistakes. The tyres, they must be at the end of their life, it must be almost down to the canvas, and surely he'll want to get these off and get a fresh set of boots on. He's running wide there at the exit of Lesmo 1, so I don't think there's an awful lot of grip left on those, so you want to eject those as fast as you can when you're at the point where you can get to the race end, surely.
I think he might have been playing a trick on us by going wide all those laps ago, just trying to lure us into a false sense of security that we know what he's going to do.
Well, you could say that one, or you could say he was just so sort of worn down on grip that was why he made those mistakes over those fleet policemen and spun round. Because Brownster tends to be fairly clinical, doesn't he? I wouldn't expect him to showboat and think, oh, I'm being featured on the live stream, I'll spin it just so I get a bit more footage. But you never know. You never know. Here we go. He's coming around the parabolica. Is he going to move to the right of the track and go into the pits like I predicted?
Oh, he's going to hang it out.
Fantastic. There we go. Right, who's next? Bassett. Right, he's going to go in the pits because it's half distance. He's just going through Ascari, so he's a long way down the track from the Brownster. Oh, Zoe's into the pits for a second time. But I guess that's about an hour after her first pit stop, so hopefully from that one she can get to the end.
She should be able to get to the end from now.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any yellow, so I'm hoping she hasn't had any incidents to put any damage on there. We did say have that little clatter of the barrier out of Ascari, so here comes another one not going into the pits. Excellent.
Just want to keep you updated. Rusty Spanner has actually pulled the gap from 3 seconds down to 1.6, so he's had a good few laps, I think. And Chicken Paxo is 1.2 seconds behind Donardi, so we've got a couple of good battles developing.
That's good spots there, Dan. The the Randy Flangeman's Rusty Spanner one, I noticed that had actually stretched out a little bit, so Whether Randy had a little mistake or Rusty picked the pace up, I don't know, but you're exactly right. Rusty is now on the back of what almost seems a race-long battle between these two.
Indeed. I think we need to switch to Paxo and Donardi because that gap has got really small.
Yep, you're absolutely right. The gold crossbow KTM on the back of Donardi's Chevrolet, which has gone wide, and this is now a side-by-side battle down the main straight. Who do you think's got this one?
Well, you'd think on terms of raw power that probably Chevy's probably got it, but Paxo's on fire. What an exit he got off that corner.
But that Chevrolet's getting in its stride. It's just going to be who's the last of the late breakers, and Chicken Paxo's on the inside, so can they make the apex, or is it going to be a Hamilton Verstappen moment? No.
Clean, very clean.
Yep. That was in MotoGP. I think that's what you call a block pass. So, interesting. Zoe's back out again. She's still ninth, so I think that was literally a stop due to the fact that she'd got to the end of her fuel after that pit stop. So there she is. Oh no, actually, I was talking her up there. Unfortunately, she has popped out down in 11th, which is behind that Chicken Paxo Donardi battle, and it looks like she's actually just behind the Brownster, who I would imagine is a lap ahead, but she will be able to unlap herself fairly quickly from there. Oh, Bazix, eventually one of the GT4 long runners has gone for the pits. So Bazix is in the pits. Oh, and unfortunately Zoe's taken a little bit of an agricultural route there to get by the Brownster, and he's just picking herself out of the gravel at the Lesmo there. I think there may have been a little bit of discord between the two of them as to how she was going to get by and unlap herself, but she's got it back on the track now. But there's Bazix, he's going for the one stopper. Is that going to put him behind Rusty GT, do we think?
I think he's got 20 seconds now. He's behind, unfortunately. Rusty's got it.
But Rusty's going to have to pit again.
We shall see. He might have seen what Brownster's doing and turned his engine settings down.
I think he'd almost have to turn it off, because he pitted around about the hour, I think.
It was about the hour, yeah.
So maybe you can do an hour and a half on these GT4s. Well, just with chatting there, Zoe has got by the Brownster to unlap herself from him, so she's got to set off now after Donardi, who is not that far away, because there's that Chicken Paxo Donardi battle, so she's not that far behind, so she can get herself. She's been playing snakes and ladders all afternoon, Zoe, and she sort of fell her way back down, and now she's sort of working her way back up again. So
yeah, indeed, she'll get to the back of these within a couple of laps, I would have said. Oh, actually, the time is just updated. Yeah, no, a couple of laps and she'll be back on them.
Yeah, just got to keep it neat and tidy. So actually, we've missed a move at the front. Rusty Spanner has nipped by Randy Flangepants for second place. So that's the black and white Audi in second, the Randy Flangepants in the pale blue McLaren dropped to third there while we were watching those other battles. So this race-long battle is carrying on.
Yeah, indeed, and they've not got anyone in front of them for a while, although car number 9, DB Kung, is actually in front of them.
But I do think these two have got to pit again, haven't they?
I would think so. I think they might be playing Fuel Chicken, seeing which one will go the longest.
That sounds like some kind of Top Gear or Grand Tour challenge, that one, Fuel Chicken.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what my good lady used to call it when I was I'd have the company car down to like 3 miles left to go, and the next services were about 8 miles away. I think it was something like Diesel Jeopardy or something like that. Oh, Diesel Roulette, that was it. Diesel Roulette.
Diesel Roulette, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I played that game slightly too often, so looking down a little bit from there, because we saw Marge, we think maybe had that extra stop, but not 100% sure. but he's now sort of 10 seconds behind Chris V Dub, so I think that's one that may come up to a boil a little bit later on.
Indeed. Just as an update, Donardi's pulled in, so he's doing his first stop, or his next stop.
Yeah, I think that's a second stop for him, isn't he? So that's going to cause him a little bit of pain with his battle with Chicken Paxo, I think. So I suppose it depends how long Chicken Paxo can go, because he pitted fairly early on, didn't he?
He did, and I think that was because of mechanical failure. So I'm sticking with Donardi for the moment to see how long he's in the pits. I think he's changing tyres.
Okay, but talking the tyres and pitting, has the Brownster pitted yet?
I don't believe he has.
No, nor do I. This is taking the mickey, really, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
He's now an hour and 25 in. Surely he can't. Well, I don't know. I'm out of ideas here, because I'm sure he can't go the whole race distance. No, it's got to be in miles. It's got to be more than what a race car can do. But he may be going just for a short stop sort of later on. But I don't understand the logic, because if he goes in, and tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will, it will be something like it's 30 seconds plus the damage, and it doesn't matter how much fuel you put in, because it's the tyre change element, isn't it? So why not go in now? Why not go in now and get the full benefit from that second set of tyres? Because at last,
here it goes. He comes in.
Brownster is eventually in the pit lane. So who is the only one that's really going to give him a bit of entertainment? He's probably Rusty GT, and Rusty GT is just
too far back.
He's just between the Lesmos, isn't he?
Yeah.
The only unknown we've got, though, is how much damage Brownster's carrying, because he did have a little bit of a battle there earlier on, didn't he?
Yeah, but he doesn't have to repair that. He doesn't have to repair that. He looks like he's having problems with his pit box.
Yeah, you can turn it off, can't you?
Move forward, so we'll see. Rusty GT's just coming down to Ascari now.
I'm just on with him. He's looks. Oh, who's number 6 track limits? Oh, that's Banff. So Banff has got who's down in 12th already, unfortunately. He has got a drive-through, so I don't know if that's gonna hinder him in his battle to catch Donardi, but that might bring him back into the clutches of DB Kung. So you said that about the Brownster, but Rusty GT is going round Parabolica, and it looks to me like Rusty GT is still stationary.
Yeah, I think Brownster was repairing damage.
So Rusty GT is down and in that grey Mercedes all the way to the first corner, and it looks like the Brownster is moving. The Brownster's out of the pit lane. So, but strategy-wise, we think Rusty GT is on a 2-stopper, don't we?
We do, yeah. So I expect to see him in within the next half hour.
I guess the one that is going to possibly come into play here, we think Brownster's probably got this one in the bag, subject to any commentator's curse, but the one that could snatch second place here, as the Rusty GT has just got all excited about taking the lead and gone airborne over the sausage curbs in the second chicane, is Bazix could come into play here, I think, because he's single stopping, and with Rusty GT's second stop, that might bring him out behind Bazix.
I'm just going to have a look at the timetables for the GT4 class, because I suspect that, yeah, I think you're right. Bazix is on he's on the same lap, and he's 20 seconds behind Paxo, I think. Whereas,
because we're fairly confident Chicken Paxo's got a pit again, but he could potentially just go for a splash and dash for a short pit stop.
Yeah, and I think that will bring him out near Donardi again.
think the other one that might develop, we just keep an eye on, who I think have still got to take a second pit stop, is Marge and Chris V Dub, because there's 6.5 seconds between them. And I just want to see which way that gap's going. And the other one is Randy Flangepants, having gone about 3 seconds behind Rusty Spanner, is now catching him again. So that one is definitely ebbing and flowing.
Yeah, indeed. And Rusty Spanner's got Paxo in front of him now, so he's going to have to clear this GT4 car.
And the other development is I will hop onto the Brownster, who is actually only, after his pit stop, 10 seconds behind Rusty GT, who is our current GT4 leader. So, and we expect Rusty GT to come into the pits again.
Yeah, indeed. I think Brownster's got this one.
Yeah, I think on both GT3 and GT4, I think the back...
off.
Oh dear.
Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, she's back on. Yeah, was that too heavier of an off? The car doesn't look too badly damaged.
No, I think it's just a spin coming off their second part of that chicane.
And of course, for our leader, who is just overtaking her there, and oh no, she's gone way wide there. She's missed her braking point completely at the second chicane, and that must have been an absolute heart stopper for Dazza, who was right in front of her. That could have been his race turned upside down there. Oh no, she's taking a little bit of a wide run there in Lesmos. I think maybe she's got a bit of damage there, so she might have to
I think she's struggling there.
Yeah, she's. It looks like a bit of all over damage there, unfortunately, with that Ferrari there. So, but that was a heart in mouth moment for. I'll hop onto him, our leader Dazza, who was graciously flowed through this one from the lights. He has got a second stop to have, but he's a lap in front of everybody, I think, now, isn't he? Let's have a look. Where's Dazza's just coming to Parabolica? Yeah, and Rusty Spanner's in front of him. And Rusty Spanner's coming into the pits, so that's for his second stop, but with an hour to go. So he's gone. I think that's a short middle stint there for Rusty Spanner, isn't it? Because that's released Randy Flangepants.
Well, I'm curious as to what Randy's going to do now. Is he going to come in now to cover that off, or is he going to try and push for the next few laps, create a bigger gap, then come in?
But I think he can go a lot deeper into this race, and if Rusty's taking tyres, I don't like to say I was right, but I'm going to. Randy Flangepants could be going for that splash and dash towards the end, because he could just run with these tyres to the end, have a short stop, and that'll bring him out maybe 20 seconds to the good from Rusty Spanner, and he's just got to hold him off to the end.
Do you know what? I think you're right. Rusty's definitely gone in for tyres. That was quite a long stop.
And Marge is back into the pits, I think, for his third pit stop, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what the plan is here.
I've got a suggestion. I may be horribly wrong. I wonder if he's not set up his sort of second and third tyres correctly, and he's gone out with tyres that have got pressures which are completely unsuitable for the track conditions that are warming up considerably.
Or the other scary thought is he might have put on tyres that he used during qualifying, or tyres that he's used before.
I think it's a tyre selection problem in one way or another, because there's no reason to pit. I think that's now his third pit stop. Oh, somebody's off, and we've lost somebody. Who have we lost? There was a yellow flag at the second chicane. So which one are we down? We're down a GT3 car, I think.
It's Donardi.
Yeah, no, Donardi's still there. He's in 11th. DB Kung in 12th. Chicken Paxo's still there.
I think he might have recovered.
No, because we had 13. Who have we lost? Rusty Spanner. We've got both of the Rusties. We've got Marge. We've got Zoe, Banff. We've lost Banff.
Oh, we have.
Yep, it's
We
Banff
should
we've
have seen
lost.
that.
So that's the other of the BMWs there. So we are down by a BMW. So they're really not having a good day out, are they? They're down there in 10th and 12th, and I suppose technically the other one's in 13th. So
Yeah, indeed.
the Chevrolet's ahead of two of them. So I'm just seeing if we've got any info on the chat. No, not got anything there at the moment. So yeah, unfortunately we've lost Banff there. So right, okay, we're waiting for really the Randy Flangepants Rusty Spanner battle to reignite, which is really dependent at the moment on Randy Flangepants keeping it between the curbs for the next few laps and what he decides to do on his final pit stop. And the other one is Bassett and Rusty GT, isn't it?
Brownster.
Well, I think the Browns
Brownster, Rusty GT.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking I've jumped a few pages ahead in the prediction because Brownster, excuse me, the Brownster I think is going to catch Rusty GT, but Rusty GT is going to have to pit, and it's where Rusty GT comes out pit stop wise compared to Bassett.
I think it might be compared to Paxo, because you've got Paxo who's only 24 seconds behind Brownster.
But I think
I think
Paxo's
he's
got a
within
pit.
that window.
Yeah, but I think Paxo's got a pit.
Oh, Zoe's gone ahead again.
Going back to that battle, I think Paxo had that early instant about 15-20 minutes in.
He did, yeah.
So I think he's going to have to pit again. So I think that's going to drop him out of contention in that little battle. But I think Brownster's going. I'm pretty confident Brownster's going to the end. I think Rusty's pitting, Chicken Paxo's pitting, but I don't think Bazzett's is pitting. So I think that's
DB Kung's just come in.
Okay, well
Sorry
that's
to cut you off.
yeah. So no, you're right to do so, because I think that gives us a. Because DB Kung had that big instant, didn't he, about 15 minutes into the race? So he's come in after about an hour and 20, so he's going to be able to go to the end from there, but unfortunately he's at the back of the pack at the moment as well. So that's not really going to help his cause. So, but that gives us an idea of, okay, here's a hypothesis for you. Pin your ears back. I think that DB Kung run gives us an idea what those cars can do, the GT4s, at full pelt in regards to time on track. Because that, I think he's gone about an hour and 22-ish.
And you think that's on full chat?
I think that's on full chat. So if you wound the engine down, you could stretch that to where the Brownster has, which was about an hour. Well, it seemed like 2 hours, but I think it was actually about an hour and 25-ish.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the difference has come, because if Brownster had that flat out, he would have had to have pitted before half distance, and of course that strategy would have gone out the window. Don't know if that's logical or not, but it sounds good, doesn't it?
I think you have a point. I do think you have a point. It is very difficult to tell what the drivers are actually thinking in terms of strategies. And it's only when they come in their first time without any damage that you can kind of take an educated guess.
And the other thing is that the Brownster's not catching Rusty GT, and no disrespect to Rusty, I would put Brownster as a faster racer, and I think Brownster's restricted by the performance in his car. But now actually, because he pitted way over half distance, you'd think he should be able to wind it up a bit.
I don't know about that. He's not too far behind.
Well, the
He's
gap
what,
was,
8 seconds?
but it was 10 seconds when he came out of the pits, and in sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, he's only caught by about a second and a half.
No, very true. Very true.
We're going to have some trigger pulling, I think, in the next 20 minutes on final pit stops. Because if we're thinking Rusty GT is doing a 2-stopper, you would expect that to happen in the next 10 minutes, wouldn't you?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I just want to say I do love DB Kung's spirit. He might be a few laps down, but he's still giving it all the beans with the Brownster, and I love that.
Yeah, and he's definitely a quick driver, DB Kung. Unfortunately, he had that massive accident, so and caught out. Who was it? I think it was Banff as well. So they had a bit of a pile up there at the first corner. But yeah, he's certainly got the pace as DB Kung, and is definitely one that you would expect to see at the sharp end. So just unfortunately, sure. he's got the pace. He's just on the wrong lap. Yeah. Oh, we've lost another one. We've lost another one. Who have we lost? We've got 6.
2 BMWs.
We've got 6. I think it's it's Marge. We've lost Marge, who's having that multiple pit stop drama.
I think, I think something's wrong with the strategy setup.
So I've just seen
it's got to be
anything in the drivers' chat that will give me a clue, and absolutely nothing. So, yeah, unfortunately that's down to 11, but we have only got 50 minutes to go. We're closer to the end than we are the beginning. So yeah, we are getting to that sort of almost Le Mans 24-hour situation of there being laps between cars. As you watch the totem pole rattle down, it's like +1, +2, +3, +4. You think, this needs a bit of livening up. So I think that livening up is going to come from when I'm going to hop onto him now. Our current GT4 leader, Chicken Paxo, he's going to... Oh, and he, just as I go on to him, commentator's curse as usual, he's just taken the Max Verstappen line across the curbs at the first chicane and lost himself a little bit of time to the Brownster, who's now only 6.8 behind. So Brownster maybe is just turning the dial up on that engine performance. Now he's confident he can get to the end.
Yeah, I think so. So you've got, he's gaining roughly sort of a second a lap. I think within the next 10 minutes we're going to see something.
Well, I think we're going to see one of two somethings, because one something's going to be Rusty's going to pit. The other something is Brownster's going to catch him. So I'm not quite sure which one's going to happen first there. But I think the other something we're going to get, and I'm not sure when, because Rusty Spanner, we know, pulled the trigger early on his pit stop, is Randy Flangepants. We're fairly confident he's going to have to pit again, but it's a case of when and where's he going to come out compared to Rusty Spanner, because the pace of that second and third place cars were so even, weren't they?
Yeah, I think Rusty's now probably sitting in that cockpit wishing for either Randy to run out of fuel or to come into the pits.
Well, I don't think he can make, unless he's wound the knob right back on the engine performance, I don't think he can make it to the end. It's just whether he goes for a splash and dash or a full pit stop. We've got 48 minutes when we're going to find out, but I think our first bit of adventure is, I'm sat on with him at the moment, is Rusty GT. I think we're going to see him head for the pits in the next 4 or 5 laps.
Randy Flangepants has had an accident at the first chicane.
More polystyrene everywhere?
No, he didn't go head on. He did try and at least make the corner.
But what I think that has actually done is Dazza has just completed the lapping of the whole field.
Yep, he has indeed.
So Randy Flangepants was his last target. So I don't know how much time Randy lost there, but he's got Dazza in front of him now in that black and yellow Lamborghini. So if he can try and keep in touch with that, that would obviously help his pace.
Yeah, I know, but if you see how quick Dazza is, he's gapping him so quickly.
He's been on a mission all night as Dazza. He's just cleared off at the first corner. We have seen him again because we've hopped onto him at times, but he is it's been a sort of textbook demonstration on how to win an endurance race.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're waiting for Randy Flangepants to pit. We're waiting for Rusty GT and Chicken Paxo to pit to sort out the GT4s. As for actual on-track manoeuvres, the only one I think we're likely to see is that I'll just hop onto him now. Is the Brownster, whose chase of Rusty GT seems to have sort of got stuck at 6 seconds by the look of it.
Yeah, it has, isn't it? He's not making up the time that he was, so maybe maybe those couple of second gain was a mistake from Rusty GT rather than the speed from that Merc.
Perhaps he just turned the fuel map up for a couple of laps, possibly. I don't know. He can, or is he just comfortable? Yeah, if he's just, he would have seen that Rusty pitted about 45 minutes, so maybe he's just comfortable and thinking, well, to take your 90% logic, that he's sort of 90%. He's got the fuel turned down. He knows he's got easy performance. The next car behind him is quite a way. And also he knows the car behind, or he's fairly confident the car behind him is going to have to pit. So why risk it?
Yeah, just bang in consistent laps, don't make a mistake, and just wait for your opponent to make the move. I think you're right.
Well, I was still debating on the arcade game that we don't mention. That's Gran Turismo. On one of their daily races with the assistance of a good friend of mine, I won that quite spectacularly. It was a Nordschleifer one, and what he did was he sat there with one with the controller, and I was on the steering wheel. What he was doing with all the twisty bits of the Nordschleifer, he turned the fuel right down, and it was only a 2-lap race. But what we managed to do was save enough fuel that I didn't have to pit, and the rest of the field did. And I won it by some ludicrous. It was like my greatest win ever. I won it by like 30 seconds or something like that, because everyone else had to pit and change tyres and whatever, and I just sailed off merrily into the distance. So you can pull these things off. That was a bit extreme, because he knew the circuit, so he knew the sort of long drags where I needed the oomph, and I turned up the end of the first lap about 3rd or 4th, but we knew, like everybody else in front of us peeled off, and we just sailed on into the distance. I mean, that'll do. So if you do those kind of strategies that we think Brownster's doing, it can work for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Endurance races are unique in the fact that you have got a lot of strategy comes into play, and there's not necessarily one right strategy. With sprint races, it's turn everything up to the max and max grip and go hell for leather, whereas with endurance races, it's all about just keeping it on the track, keeping everything sort of settled, and just lasting, just getting to the end.
Well, it was interesting. I was watching an interview with Ben the Stig, who's
Ben Collins.
Thank you. I was rattling through the files in the back of my brain. It was there somewhere, but thank you for that. So yeah, Ben Collins, and he was talking about Le Mans, and they were asking him, so has it moved from that sort of just got to keep it together to like 24 hours flat out? And he says it's 24 hours flat out nowadays, because they've got generally the reliability fixed on most of these vehicles. And go back to one of your favourite areas, which is the data logging. They're able to see when engines have got a problem and manage issues and that kind of thing. But he says no, it's compared to what it was sort of 30 years ago, where they were crossing their fingers everything will hold itself together to the end of the race. And now it's lights out and off you go. And when I was there 12 years ago, and the one where Alan McNish was trying to lap a GT3 Ferrari and managed to collide with it and destroyed his rather expensive Audi into a million pieces. That was a reflection of it. He was so desperate to get by, he made a mistake, and within, I think it was an hour of the start, he ruined the whole race.
That's mad. I can't imagine having to sit in a cockpit for a good 3 to 4 hours, if not longer, putting in qualifying laps. I could not think of anything worse.
It's just the pressure on it has moved up and up, and of course the Le Mans series or World Endurance Championship has got so many more entrants coming to it next year as well, that it's probably going to increase that pressure as well.
Yeah, I've got mad respect for anyone who can sit for endurance races. I mean, even in karting, by sort of 8 laps in the final, I'm done. You know, you're on it. You've got people behind you, people in front of you you're trying to catch, and even after 8 minutes, you're just exhausted.
So you've just flashed the memory into my mind of doing rather long endurance races of all things in pro karts round the actual army barracks. We went away from the circuit, and it was like instead of the streets of Monaco, it was the roads of the barracks. So loads of tyres. Curbs suddenly looked like rather monstrous items, and what we did was there was me, a friend of similar age, and his son were a sort of 3-man team, and exactly as you say, we were absolutely knackered after like the first sort of half hour. So we did what anybody sensible would do, was we left his son in the car and went to the burger van.
Probably a sensible idea.
And you can see him coming by the pit, sort of frantically looking, wanting to come in, and we just sort of like wave him by. I think he came in after about half an hour and lobbed his helmet. He was a bit upset. We'd left him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But while we were reminiscing these old great stories, Daz is coming in for his second pit stop, but he's floating ahead of the rest of the field eminently, so I don't think he's actually going to even lose the lead.
No, being a lap up, he's quite comfortable. I mean, he can come in, he can change tyres, he can do what he needs to do, and still come out in the lead. So
to use
Paxo is coming in. Just cut you off.
Chicken Paxo's in.
So he's pulled the trigger. Rusty's not come in yet, so and Brownster's catching him.
But again, I think this is a reflection when Chicken Paxo had his incident, and this is sort of the limit of that GT4 car again at full pace. And we've actually had some input on our YouTube channel, which is great to see. Matthew Pigg, who I know is a great fan of the GT series, the endurance series, is saying the entries for Le Mans next year include 2 Toyotas, 2 Peugeots, 4 Porsches, 2 Cadillacs, 2 BMWs and 2 Lamborghinis.
I'm imagining the old school donk style Cadillacs pulling up for a Le Mans race. I don't know why.
Do you know, that was exactly the picture in my head as well for some reason. It's not a brand you would normally associate with endurance racing, is it?
No, indeed.
So yeah, but that is a hell of a field. It's almost, I go back to what I consider one of the golden eras of racing, which was the British touring cars in the 1990s, and you had like 10 manufacturers all sort of vying every weekend to knock the door mirrors off all the other 9 manufacturers, and it was just a fantastic racing series.
Yeah, I do love British. Go on, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'd just say, just fantastic touring racing. That super touring era of the 90s was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I actually caught I started watching touring cars in the 2000s. I was quite late to watching racing cars actually, and you know, I joined in the era of, you know, Jason Plato and Max Chilton, you know, those guys cheering on the Seat Leons and stuff like that. That was my kind of era.
Not that this is a book club, but if you guys and girls out there, a great, fantastic book to read is Jason Plato's autobiography. Have you read it, Dan?
I haven't, no, but I think I might try and catch up with it.
It's called How Not to Be a Racing Driver. And
right.
it is absolute laugh out loud stuff. Some of the stuff he got up to and how he got the drive at Williams Renault in the Laguna, and it's just absolute classic stuff. So really worth watching. But we ought to actually concentrate on what we're supposed to be talking about, which is the race. And Randy Flangepants has interestingly gone for his pits, which was one of the things we were waiting to see happen, because Rusty Spanner, who is just going through Ascari, I don't know, are you on Randy Flangepants in the pits? Because at the moment,
I'm on Randy Flangepants in the pits, and it's a long stop. He's doing tyres.
Well, okay, so he hasn't taken the splash and dash advice of the commentator, which is probably wise. So Rusty's just going into the first bit of Parabolica. He's on the throttle and he's just coming out to run that curb. And it looks
I think
like
it's going to be tight.
Do you think he's crossed the start-finish line?
Randy's just going, he's just going.
And no,
this is going to be tight.
No, he's gone. Rusty Spanner's through. He's gone by pit exit. He's on the brakes into the first chicane. Looks like quite a gap there, actually.
Yeah, it is slightly too long for Randy there, unfortunately.
Well, he's not. But he's not that. Is that him? Just. Oh no, he's a bit further back than that. Where is he? Oh, he's just into the first chicane now. So yeah, that. I don't know whether Randy had a little bit of a moment there, because he's lost. I'll see what the gap is when they go across the second split. But I thought he would have not lost that amount of time. But I could be wrong. But there we go. He's just coming across now. Yeah, he's lost 13 seconds there now. So I don't know whether that was... See, was that Rusty getting on those fresher tyres and making the most of it, maybe?
I have a feeling that's probably the case. Although the times looked the same. They looked like they were keeping pace with each other. So, I don't know, maybe the fact that they were half a lap difference, you couldn't really tell the seconds that Rusty was making up.
Well, we've got a bit of action going on in the middle of the pack, though. Brownster, who we know was gradually taking little chips out of Rusty GT, he is just 2.2 seconds behind, but right behind him, he's got the race leader, who obviously went back in for his second pit stop and is now working his way back forward. So Daz, in the black and yellow Lambo there, has just got by the red Mercedes of Brownster, but can Brownster use that as a towboat to get himself up to Rusty GT there? Because he's just got, it was 2.2 seconds, it's now exactly 2 seconds. So this one could be livening up before Rusty goes for his pit stop.
Yeah, indeed. I thought Brownster was going to keep it closer to Dazza there and keep in his slipstream, but yeah, he sort of pulled to the right for some reason.
Daz seems to have just got so much pace in that Lamborghini. He's just off and gone, isn't he?
Yeah, indeed. It's like he's got a whole nother gear that the other drivers don't have.
And this is probably not going to help Brownster's case. He's just being caught, and he's not letting through by Rusty Spanner, who has gained second place after that pit stop of Randy Flangepants. But obviously Rusty Spanner's going to be keen to get by, but Brownster's probably not going to want him to go by, is he?
No, but I think he's going to have to concede and let him pass, because he's not racing him. Totally different race. He just needs to keep on where he's keep on his line, and keep racing his own race.
And of course, still shadowing Brownster is that blue BMW of DB Kung, which is believed to have been there for about an hour, I think, isn't he? Yeah,
Brownster just can't lose him, can he? But at least he's DB Kung's got a bit of a battle going.
It's like he's wingman.
He's sucking in all all the draft that he can, all the slipstream that he can, doesn't he?
Well, you almost think that Browns almost want to be letting him by to use the draft off him down the straights, do like a Red Bull F1 team kind of thing of giving each other a draft.
If I know Brownster, he's not going to let anyone past him if he doesn't have to.
Well, interestingly, that gap between the first place GT4 Rusty and Brownster went out to nearly 3 seconds, but I think that may have been with the Rusty Spanner going through. So
I think so as well.
So Brownster's back on it, but we've got coming up to just half an hour to go. So we're 2 hours into the race. And was that Zoe taking a little bit of a scenic route there?
Yeah, she's got Randy behind her, so he's going to want to try and pass these next few cars very quickly. Just try and catch up to Rusty Spanner because he's not got long now.
As much as I love to talk it up, I think Randy's going to struggle to catch him back up. He has got fresher tyres, but I think it's going to need a little bit more than that. Maybe a mistake from Rusty, but you know, we've still got half an hour to go, so it's quite possible something like that could happen.
Well, he's cleared Zoe now. It's just how he goes about clearing these two GT4 cars.
Well, let's just pop onto the other Rusty, which is Rusty GT. He has done a pretty clean race, hasn't he? He may not, we believe, have the best strategy, which is it's going to keep him on the podium, but it's not, we don't think, going to be on the top step. But he's raced pretty clean. He's got a bit of gravel rash down each side of the car, but I don't recall him sort of taking any great scenic routes at all.
No, definitely not. He's kept on the tarmac from what we've seen.
So, mind you, Randy Flangebrand is only 11 seconds behind Rusty Spanner, so he has pulled in a couple since the pit stop, so you never...
No, like I said, I think how he clears these GT4 cars is going to be the important part.
Just popping back to YouTube, Matthew Pigg's back. He, despite that great long list he told us about, there will be some Ferraris as well at Le Mans next year. So it's going, because it had a bit like the British touring cars that. Oh, hello! Randy Flangebrand has taken the shortcut.
Now, has because of that, did he push DB Kong off? It looked like it was a battle of the brakes there, and neither of them wanted to give up.
I think Randy Flangebrand may have used one of his track limits jokers there. I think. Because suddenly he's gone from, what was it, 11 seconds to under 10 seconds behind Rusty Spanner.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do that too many times though, is he?
No, if it depends how many ticks in the books he's got. Oh, Zoe's into the pits, but I guess that might be for repairs. She's had a couple of little adventures. So, and that's...
That's awfully quick. That might be... maybe I've just called the back end of it.
Well, that's Randy Flangebrand's just getting by Donardi there, who's running in 10th in the Chevrolet.
Oh, Zoe's got to stop and go, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
30 seconds. I think that might be speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, yeah, because the track limits is a drive through, or is it a stop and go? I can't remember. I think it's a drive through. So
I think it's a drive through as well. I think the stop and go is pit lane.
See,
violation.
What I'd love to see is Rusty GT's fuel gauge.
I would like to see the Brownsters' tyres from that last stint. If they didn't have blisters, I'd be surprised.
Well, he's not going to put as many laps on these ones, but he might be putting a bit more power through them.
Yes, certainly. He's going to be putting a lot more power through them now that he can see Rusty.
Well, it's down. Let's hop back to him. So I was on Randy Flangebrand in his McLaren. Yeah, back to the Brownster. Yeah, he's almost in that slipstream kind of window, isn't he? And if you know, he's very strong on the brakes as well.
Yeah, and there's quite heavy braking zones in this, so he can really take advantage of that.
I wonder how much Rusty GT is just hanging this out, thinking, well, I know I'm not going to win it, I know I've got a pit, but I'm going to hang out in front as long as I possibly can.
Yeah, why not? if you're the race leader, get as many laps in as you can.
Because the thing is, if he was going for a freeway even split on the race, he would have stopped a quarter of an hour ago.
Yes, yeah, it would have been.
Because he's only done the one pit stop like the drivers around him, but he's got, just over 25 minutes to go.
So this will be interesting now, because he's coming up on Donardi, who's not really had the best of races today.
No, he's had a couple of little adventures, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, really. I don't think the car choice was the wisest. I mean, certainly the Mercedes was definitely the way to go.
From the GT4 race we had, from memory, the Mercedes was very strong. I'm trying to think, there was another, possibly BMWs that were popular. I can't remember. It was definitely, I definitely remember there was a whole sea of Mercedes. I think it was the Hungaroring, but again, that may have been a previous race or previous championship. But this Merc definitely does seem to be the weapon of choice, as you can see by the top two in that category.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just getting that bit closer for New Brownster.
Yeah, he'll only be a lap. I think he'll make the move there on the next lap.
Would you make a move and risk it? I think I'd just sit and
I
wait.
would. No,
Would you?
I would. Yeah, and if I know Brownster, he'll make the move as well.
But if you make a move, but you'd make a safe one though, because you got too much to risk here. Because you have a collision and damage, and you've got to go back to the pits. You're going to spoil your whole race. Whereas if you believe the car in front of you is going to pit, I'd sit there, put the stereo on, and wait for him to pull in.
It's easy to say that when you're not in the car, but when you're in that car and you're chasing him down, and knowing what the Brownster's like, he'll want that car. He'll want to pass that car on track.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to disagree with it, because he's won this through strategy, hasn't he, as much as outright pace.
Oh, agreed. I definitely. But if you can make that pass on screen, in person, why wouldn't you? It's just more fun.
I think it looks like it might happen actually, because Brown's always getting a little bit lively behind Rusty GT there. So Rusty GT there in the blue and grey Mercedes, and right behind him in the red one is the Brownster, who is right tucked under his rear wing as they go down the Parabolica. And Rusty
He's going to try into Parabolica.
No. Rusty was all the way down that right-hand curve, but he's compromised his exit, and Rusty GT's
this is
not got
exactly
the
what
best
Brownster wanted. This is exactly what he wanted. He's going to go for it. Rusty's doing the right move and sticking to that inside line.
But he's going to compromise himself for that first chicane, unless he can pull over. Oh, Brownster
no!
down the front, and he was good on the brakes, but he was a little bit ambitious, wasn't it? And DB Kung in the blue.
Ambitious.
Yeah, DB Kung in the background was caught out by that as well, because he went across the Sleeping Policeman as well. And I don't want to say I was right, but I was. Why risk it? Wait.
No, I was right in that one. I told you that is exactly where he'll make that move. He'll want to do it on track. He won't want to play it safe. He'll dive down that inside. I think Rusty did the right thing there. He moved over right at the last minute and braked hard, so that Brownster would either have to run wide or do what he just did.
Yeah, I don't dispute what you're saying. That's what Brownster was going to do. But I don't think it was the right thing to do. Just wait. I'm sure Rusty's going to have to pit.
I agree.
So he could have risked the ranch there for no good reason. But we've only got 22 minutes to go. So maybe Rusty's got some kind of miracle that we haven't thought of, that he can make it to the end. Maybe that's what Brownster's suddenly thinking is, hang on, is that Merc in front of me actually going to stay out?
Well, this is the thing. If you remember, Brownster stayed out for a long, long time in that first stint, and Rusty didn't. Rusty might have looked at what Brownster could do, and then adapted that for his second stint.
Yeah, because he was committed when he started. He was committed on that fuel load, but he would have to turn the power down, and he did. I'm sure he pitted. Or did he pit about the hour?
I think it'd have to be because the Brownster was an hour and a half.
Yeah, so he's got to go as long as the Brownster did. So yeah, it's going to take Brownster a couple of laps to get that back. And now we've got Donardi coming up as a bit of a mobile chicane. Of course, the other thing we don't know is are any of these on track limit warning with the danger of getting a drive-through.
Yeah, indeed. Although, we've been following Rusty and Brownster for quite a while now. All of their moves have been on track. You know, they've not gone particularly wide in anywhere.
Yeah, but there's an awful lot of laps, 67 laps in the book. You haven't got to make, just run that a little bit too wide. I know this isn't as vicious as some of the simulations out there, but and you can get away with it, can't you? You can back off and not get an advantage. But if you I'm trying to remember the particular ones on this, but if you do a few too many, it can just come out and bite you, can't it?
Indeed. I think if I was Rusty right now, I'd be praying that I was nice to Donardi in a previous life, because he can either be your friend now or be your enemy.
Interesting, Brownster's not catching that gap back up very quickly, is he?
He's taking 2 tenths off. So he is still catching.
I'm going for a splash and dash here, I think, for the finish for Rusty GT, because I think that's his only option now. Because with 20 minutes, you're better off having 5 seconds of fuel and 25 seconds gain on time than what you are of having a fresh set of boots, I would say, for the last 10 laps.
Well,
that's what we're down
he's clear of yeah, indeed, he's clear of Bassocks though, so if he does come in now, even for a change of tyres, I think he's got more than enough time to make the change and get out before.
Do you think?
I do, yeah.
Well, what's the gap between Brownster, whereas Brownster is just coming out of that first chicane, and Bassocks is heading down towards Ascari.
Ascari. I think you've got time. I think it depends what Rusty's doing. His 2 options are he stays out and he holds Brownster off of him for the next 20 minutes by luck, or he assesses his time to Bassocks and pulls it in, quick splash and dash, get out, and just keep consistent. Don't fall off the track.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a splash and dash if he's limited on fuel. You could possibly go for tyres as well, but I'm risk adverse, so I think you just go and splash and dash it, keep it going to the end, because we're just come down to 18 minutes to go, so that's roughly 9 laps. Well, Donardi did very well at getting out of the way there, because he went right. Oh no, he didn't. He went right across the middle of the Ascari chicane, didn't he? And then he's come back on the grass afterwards. But I don't think that put Rusty off. I might be wrong.
I'm surprised by Donardi on that one. That's not a move he'd normally make.
Well, I think he made one mistake and then it came into others. Oh, talk us through this. This looks lively down the main straight.
It's the same move that Brownster did last time. Rusty will keep his line right at the last minute, pull out to the left, slam his brakes on. He'll literally be braking as hard as he can.
Actually, he's parked in the middle of the track and he can't stop it. He's gone right across the grass. That's another one of his track limits jokers used up. Has he lost too much momentum?
No, he's got a drive. No, he's got a drive through. He's got a drive. It doesn't matter. He's got a drive through now.
He put it all on. No. He put it all on red, and it came up black. That might be 2 trips to the pit lane as well. Oh, he's he's still taking the fight to Brownster though, as they go through the second chicane. That Brownster's got that one done, I think.
Yeah,
That was
I think
costing.
he just needs to let him go.
Yeah, well, he wants to hold him up, really, doesn't he?
There's no point in keep battling. You've got to drive through.
Hang on, Dan. You were the one a few laps ago was saying that Brownster should take the fight to him and go for it. Now you're saying Rusty should sit behind.
Well,
Guilty as charged. Case rest, my
Rusty's got
lord.
to drive through now. Rusty's got to drive through now, so I think he now needs to try and make as much time up on Bassett, because he could lose second place here.
So I'm just giving in mind, see if we see that gap between Rusty and Bassett. So I think it's too far apart on the timings for it to come up. But just as a side note, Donardi's just gone back to the pits. We saw him taking that Chevrolet through the gravel and possibly picked up a little bit of damage there, but he's out of the pits again. Interestingly, he's going to come out, I think, in the line of fire of these two again. So Rusty's decided not to take his drive through. He's got 2 more laps to do it. Now, I'm surprised if our belief that Browns has got the performance turned down, that he would not wind it up now to get away from Rusty.
Depends on fuel load. He might have calculated it so that he's got enough just to get him to the end plus a lap.
Oh, at the reduced performance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see your logic. Oh, hello. There's Donardi appearing from across the grass again. We saw that a couple of laps ago. So yeah, I think Rusty's in big problems here, because I think he's going to have to do his drive-through and he's then going to have to do a splash and dash.
Yeah, I think he might be right.
And I think
his best option now is to turn his fuel right down and just take the drive-through and just hope and pray that he can fend off Bassett.
Because they were coming out the first chicane and Bassett was heading down towards Ascari, so that's roughly half a lap. So he's probably got a minute in hand, which is 1 normal pit stop. So if you've got a drive-through, maybe a splash and dash, he might get away with it. Because what would you lose in a drive-through? You probably lose 15 seconds. Oh, he's not giving this one up, is he, Rusty GT?
No, he isn't.
He's still giving Brownster a bit of a hard time here, but he's, if he doesn't pull in this lap, he's going to have to pull in the next lap to take his drive through.
No, he's not pulling in. I think he wants revenge.
It could be a professional foul time, not that I would suggest such a thing. Here he comes.
Oh.
Rusty GT, he's looking down the inside as they come to the first chicane. Brownster's best off keeping out of this one. Can he get it stopped?
Simultaneous braking, did you see that?
Yeah, they both dived just at the same time, didn't they? So Rusty GT, I think that was a personal thing, just to say, yeah, I could have got by you. I could have got back by, I could have got the slipstream, yeah. I think he just wanted to scratch that board to say that he could do that. I think Brownster seems to have backed out of this one a little bit, and I think he can see there's an aura of red mist around that grey Mercedes, so he's decided to let him have his head of it.
Let him go.
That Chevrolet seems to be taking rather agricultural routes. Oh, hello, who's number 20?
That's Donardi.
Oh, Donardi. He's been taking some rather rural routes through some of the corners, so that's come back to haunt him. So we're just dropping under 13 minutes to go, so we've probably got 7 laps remaining. So
yeah,
go on.
No, I was just about to say, yeah, just about 7 laps.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering how many more of these drivers are sat on their final warning for track limits. So this could bring a little bit of a different element of it into the race. the other thing is, I think we're going to see Rusty pull into the pits here for his drive-through. So this will give us an idea of where he's going to be relative to Bazux, and has he got to come in again? I'm convinced he has, but as the clock ticks down, I'm starting to think I could be wrong yet again.
I don't think he knows he's got a penalty. Oh no, he does.
Dan, welcome to the world of penalties. Sorry, of commentating, because that was like, you instantly proved wrong on so many occasions. So let's have a look where Bazux is. So Bazux between Lesmos. So I reckon Rusty actually might be all right. I thought he was going to fall back into the clutches of Bazux here.
No, he's got time with a drive-through, just not a full pit. He's going to have to go to the end now.
So there we go, and he's out of the pit. So yeah, and Bazux is just going through the Ascari chicane, and Rusty is just through the first chicane. So yeah, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. This could liven things up. Well, I'll tell you what.
Did I see Chris Feeder sideways? Oh no, he's okay.
Has he got it?
It's just as I was flipping screens. Yeah, I got a funny angle there.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I usually do at this point in the race. We'll just have a quick run through of the drivers from the back to the front. So we'll just start off with DB Kung, who is someone who we know has got great pace, because he's been hounding the Brownster, it seems, for most of the race, but unfortunately he had that big incident earlier on, didn't he? And he was in the pits for quite some time for repairs.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean, it's racing, these things happen. You just got to plough on. I mean, he's proved that he's a fast driver. It's just, it wasn't his day.
No, and actually he has been rewarded by plugging away and staying out there, because Donardi is actually behind him. So I think that may have even been an on-track manoeuvre where DB Kung, after hanging in there for 2 hours and 20 minutes, had actually got to the point where that's Donardi going in to take his drive-through. But DB Kung had actually got ahead of Donardi there, so hanging in there was worth it for another position. So
yeah, I think it just goes to show never give up. Drive to the end.
Donardi, who's now 11th. Your feeling was the Chevrolet was a bit of a left field choice, really, because he's had I was going to say a quiet race, but he seems to have had a race mainly with noise of gravel hitting the underside of that Chevrolet. So not a preferred weapon of choice in the GT4 class, do you think?
No, it is a bit of an out there kind of choice. I think the mindset might have been correct, like, long straights, powerful car. It's a good idea, but I don't think it's helped in this race. And it's strange because he's such a quick driver, he's such a quality driver. To see him have such a bad race, he's actually quite a shame.
Yeah, and I was exactly going to follow up with that very comment there. He's one of the quick guys in Race Club, so I am quite surprised that he's not really been able to make it work tonight, even though he's not possibly had the preferred car, which is now having a little bit of a ride of bumpiness over the sleeping policeman there. So
yeah.
we'll pop up to Zoe, who has had a few adventures tonight. She was doing quite well at getting her way back up ahead of all the GT4s, but has had a few moments. But she's now there, just been lapped by our leader. But she's still plugging away at it there, so she's in ninth, so she's not last. So it shows you just got to stick in these races sometimes, and the results will come back to you, even if it's not a podium.
I think that's what I like about groups like this. It doesn't matter your skill level, doesn't matter your driver quality. I mean, everyone has bad days anyway. This is my first time seeing.
Oh no! Sorry, just you saying that. Zoe, I think just T-boned the Brownster.
Well, hopefully that hasn't made too much of a dent. in the race.
No, the Browns is away, but that's the one person you don't want to hit is the class leader, isn't it?
No, definitely not.
So, yeah, sorry, you were saying about Zoe.
So, first time I'm seeing Zoe drive. She's had a bad day. It's unfortunate. Doesn't always happen. You know, it's 2.5 hours. You know, it can get to you. And if you've had a bad, you know, opening few laps, which she did, I think she got hit by someone, and I think it might have shaken her a bit. But she's carried on, got all the way to the end of the race. Not last.
No.
So I think there's definitely positives to take away from this. And I'll be looking forward to seeing how she does in the next race.
Okay, and up to 8th, who's Chicken Paxos, again another one of our quick drivers, and a quick drive again in a bit of a left field choice in the KTM there. So had that long pit stop early on, a bit like DB Kung, has been on the sort of recovery mode throughout the race. So it's not really worked out for him, but he's still going there, and he's in 8th, but a little bit too far behind Bazix really to be able to make any change to his position at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, he's made. I mean, personally, I think it's a fairly decent choice. The KTM Crossbow is a fairly decent car, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive. I think it's quite a sensible idea. I think the accident at the beginning really has just put a spanner in the works for him, has just thrown his strategy out the window. But I think he could have been up there battling Brownster and Rusty.
Yeah, I agree. And up into the top 3 of the GT4 class, we've got Bazix, who was running closely with Banff, his teammate, earlier on until Banff unfortunately disconnected. But he's had a fairly quiet race, really, hasn't he? Banff obviously had that collision, I think, with DB Kung when he made that mistake at the first chicane. But Bazix has been fairly quiet there in 7th place, and again, one of our quick drivers. Yeah,
just plodding along. Not really any dramas really from him today. It's just a shame Banff had to drop out because they were in a battle when we didn't think they were going to be, being teammates. So it was nice to see them actually at each other's throats. Yeah, it's just a shame Banff had to drop out, really.
Yeah, that was. So up to Rusty GT in 6th, who we have featured quite a lot, who is currently running 2nd in the GT4 class, who I was convinced was going to have to stop for fuel again, but he is still going, and with 4 minutes to go, I would assume he's got this sussed out. So I got that one wrong. So he looks like he's going to hang on to that 2nd place in the GT4 class, but overall I think a cracking drive there.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he kept the Brownster off of him for quite a while. Whether or not he knew he was going to do a quick opening stint and then a long second stint, I don't know, or whether he saw how long Brownster could go and thought, you know what, I can do this as well. But you've got to admire the spirit, I think, to have a penalty within the last lap of when you have to take that penalty, to still give it back to the Brownster on track to prove a point. I mean, you got to admire the spirit, haven't you?
I do. I think that was personal, wasn't it?
Oh, indeed.
I'll hop on to the Brownster, who is running in the lead of the GT4 class, and we sort of initially thought he was a little bit off the pace, but we seemed, to think that he was running with the engine revs turned down, so that he was able to go for a single stopper, which only a few of the GT4 drivers did.
Yeah, it's funny because we early race we kind of really weren't really considering him a threat, considering he was at the back, and then all of a sudden an accident in a couple of GT4 cars, and all of a sudden he's at the front and he's running away with it. Really, really good strategy choice, going so deep into the race. He's nailed the fuel, hasn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, we were sat there wondering if he was ever actually going to stop.
Well, yeah, I think if he could have got away with not stopping, he would have done.
Yeah, I quite agree with it. Oh, and I've just flipped on to Chris V Dub in 4th in the GT3 class, and he was going sideways across the Scari, so he's having a bit of an adventure there, but doesn't look like he's picked any damage up. And as always, we mentioned with Chris V Dub, he's using a controller rather than a wheels and pedal rig. But it's been a relatively quiet night for him, isn't he? He was a little bit further up at the start, wasn't he? But he seemed to struggle on that first set of tyres. But once he got rid of those, he seems to have sort of settled down in that roundabout 4th position, doesn't he?
Indeed, I think maybe the colder weather has caught him out slightly. Maybe he's gone a bit too high on the pressures, or even a bit too low on the pressures, and couldn't get the temperature into the tyres properly. But yeah, he's calmed down. He's settled into the second stint, and he's done really well.
And in 3rd we've got Randy Flangerpants, who I think that's a really great race from Randy, because he's occasionally has a few adventures into the gravel and the barriers, or just as I watch at him, he's going sideways around Lesmo. But he has done a really solid race there. He's somebody who's gradually grown in pace with Race Club. He was, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, sort of right at the back and, having problem after problem. But he stuck at it, and that's what it's all about. And, he's lost out to Rusty Spanner on that through that second cycle of pit stops. But, to be on the podium, I think still a great result.
Yeah, I mean, he's driven fantastic today, hasn't he? Unfortunately, it was a battle of fuel chicken, and he's unfortunately lost out to that battle. But it happens. He's put in some good stints. He's got a lot of airtime tonight.
Okay,
with his battle with Rusty. So
give it all you can.
Yeah, he's had a good race. He should be proud of himself.
I agree. And his adversary there in 2nd place, Rusty Spanner, who has really sort of been up there, the front end of the GT3 class the whole evening, but really made that strategy on through his second pit stop pay well. He went earlier than Randy, and came out about sort of 13 seconds ahead, so that really did work out for him, those fresh tyres.
Yeah, definitely. He's held his nerve. Knew when to go in. Knew when to call like the battle of the day. Go in, fresh rubber, bit of fuel. Right, let's really hammer down now. He's done fantastic.
And what I've seen of him racing, he does look like he's been particularly tidy as well. I haven't seen him sort of rattling the curbs or across the gravel and so on, which is the important thing with these endurance races.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And on to our race leader, Imperious. What else can you say? Led from turn 1. I don't think anyone actually got in front of him during the cycle of pit stops. He was that far in front. And perfect strategy, perfect driving. Haven't seen any issues apart from nearly getting taken out when he was lapping somebody. I can't find any negatives.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, he's for him, he's probably had a bit of a boring race, really. He's had no one to battle. He's just been so far ahead. I think the only entertainment he's had is when he's been coming up on everyone, and it has been everyone.
Yeah, I agree. He's got a lap in the book over everyone, and here he comes to the line to take the checkered flag. Fantastic drive there from Dazza.
The leader has finished the race.
Yeah, very well deserved win.
And then literally 2nd place, who is not just behind him, he's a lap behind him. That's how far Dazza has got away. He's crossing the line now. And then, oh no, Randy Flangerpants got it completely sideways through Parabolica on the last lap. And he's got Chicken Paxo right behind him. So Randy crosses him 3rd. Chicken Paxo, he's a lap down. He's come through in 8th place. And then we've got Chris V Dub going across the line now. And then who else have we got? We've got DB Kung. Brownster's shadow for most of the evening. He's just gone through, along with the Brownster himself. So he comes through to win the GT4 class. And then Rusty is probably going to be the next one through.
Yeah. I think him and Donardi have slowed right up now.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, Denardi had gone to the pitch just close to the end. I know what's going on here, I think. Am I right? Is one of them's pushing the other. Denardi is pushing Rusty, isn't he? Is Rusty out of field?
Oh, he's not, is he? It doesn't sound like he's got fuel.
Yeah, look, he's nudging him along.
He might be.
He's nudging him along. And here comes Bazix. Here comes Bazix on the last corner.
Oh, no.
Oh, and Bazix goes through the middle, and there's an almighty pile-up. Oh, this one's going to end up with the stewards. And worse than that, we've got Rusty GT rolling with no fuel towards the finish line. Bazix is trying to recover, and now here comes Denardi to push him across the finishing line, and Bazix is going to snatch it. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So Bazix snatches sixth, literally on the line, and here comes Denardi, who is pushing. Oh, and here comes Rusty Spanner to give them both a nudge. Well, I've never ever seen an end of a race like that. The only, and this is going to show my memory recall is completely ridiculous. That actually Sterling Moss, I believe, was pushed back into the pits at Monza in the 50s for a very similar situation, that he'd run out of fuel and he managed to wave to one of his teammates who then pushed him back to the pits. So history is repeating itself after 70 years. How about that?
Oh, nice one. The camaraderie between the boys, I think, is fantastic. To see him, they want to get him on the podium, so trying to push him all the way to the line. I think that's quality sportsmanship from Denardi there.
Yeah, I'm not sure Bazix possibly had quite the same view there.
I'm pretty sure he didn't, but he took it in the end.
Well, hopefully everyone out there has enjoyed watching the race we've had there tonight. We've been Race Club. I'm Trevor, and our great co-commentator tonight has been Dan. If you want to know more about Race Club, do a little bit of research on Facebook for Race Club UK, and you will find us. January 2023, we've got a brand new championship season starting, so if you want to get involved in that one, you need to join the Facebook group and say you're interested, and we'll get you involved in next season. So in the meantime, from me, it's goodbye, and from Dan,
goodbye.